your book.
Oh, you've got my book ready too. All right, people. I am your favorite New Age atheist ex-Muslim activist, Harris Sultan. And I've got Dr. Jawad Hashmi with me. Dr. Jawad is a scholar of Islam, not in a traditional sense. He's an academic. He's a PhD candidate in Islamic Studies at Harvard. He's a physician as well. And yeah, and I think we're just gonna we've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I think last year, Doctor, you asked. Sorry, by the way, should I call you Jawad?
Just call me
Hashmi?
just call me Jawad.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Jawad asked me, I think last year or the year before, he invited me to come to Harvard and maybe have a debate in person. But because of COVID and so many other things happening at the same time, that couldn't happen. So why not just do it on camera? Because obviously it's a lot easier. We could just get right into it. How are you doing, Jawad?
I'm doing well. How about you, Harris? You're in Australia?
Yeah, I'm in Australia. It's a beautiful day, hot. I believe wherever you are, it's cold and dark. Actually, no, you don't live in Europe, so
no.
it won't be as bad.
Yeah. So I found out when I was looking you up, you're an actor as well. Is that correct?
Not anymore. I mean, in my younger days, I tried some acting, but obviously those skills weren't that good. So I thought I should apply the skills somewhere else.
Which is what now? Which is this?
Well, no, my business is an acting agency. I run an acting agency. I represent actors and models. I try to get them work. But that was in my 20s what I was really passionate about. But now I'm more passionate about what I'm doing. I guess it depends on, what you find interesting at any given point. This quote has resonated with me. I can't remember what the name of the book or the author. He said, we pick a career for ourselves in our 20s, like when we decide what degree we're going to do, and then we're just stuck with it for the rest of our lives. Seldom people, in their 30s or 40s go through a career change. But that's just the nature of the world we live in. And that's just the structure. I mean, our marriages fall apart, our interests change, we retire, but it just in terms of a career, whatever career that we're stuck with or we picked in our 20s, we're just stuck with it. So I think it's a great luxury. One should be really grateful that if they can change their career paths as they go along, because you're a different person in your 20s and 30s and so forth. So I mean, I don't know, if I get bored of this, I might do something else.
Yeah, I'm also on my third career change now, so I can sympathize. But it is a luxury. Yeah. not that young. I'm sure you're much younger than I am, but
no, I think we're the same age. I might look younger though.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm joking. I have no idea. I'm just joking. I don't know.
All right. So I wanted to, I read your book actually, and I thought, to give somebody a fair reading, you should read their book to understand their mindset. And I hope that we could go through it so that you can know, like, what issue I have with your approach. And even if we start from like the very beginning of your book, you talk about, so this is in the prologue on page 10. You talk about, it talks about the Enlightenment, that all of us who live in liberal Western democracies are beneficiaries of the age of enlightenment. And you talk about your fundamental values and rights: free expression, individual liberty, equal rights, and democracy are the result of courageous free thinkers who challenge the European theocracies and religious orthodoxies of their time. Then it moves on to Thomas Jefferson, who built this nation. And then you talk about enlightenment in the Muslim world, which is really what you're calling for, even on your podcast, which I found very enjoyable, by the way, The Secular Jihadists. You right front and center is talk about the Enlightenment. So that seems to be a key part of kind of the new atheist. And do you mind me calling you a new atheist?
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Because I mean, I you read Dawkins and were very influenced by Dawkins, so that's why I thought that kind of fit. And I don't mean that in an insulting way.
I understand.
If you don't like that, okay. But I also, have you read? I'm sure you've read Steven Pinker's book, Enlightenment Now.
Yeah. So no, I haven't read that. No, not that book. I've read Better Angels of Our Nature. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Well, enlightenment now, that's a big key term, and he's even been called a new atheist, and he doesn't really
Yeah,
discount
yeah,
that completely. So this enlightenment thing is very big for you in this narrative, in the new atheist narrative, that we, the West, we are the enlightened West, and we are going to export these values to the rest of the world, and these backward Muslims, they need to catch up to the Enlightenment. Is that about right? Did I miss anything there?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that
Okay.
sounds right. Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is where we can tell where our divergence is.
Mm.
So I also uh, am a pro-enlightenment figure. Now, I believe I'm a critical, I believe in critical engagement with the Enlightenment. But I also claim the Enlightenment. And if you look at the Enlightenment, I think actually you're going to have a harder time claiming the Enlightenment. So if you look at the Enlightenment figures, for example, Descartes is the one who first, is one of the first figures of the Enlightenment. I mean, he wrote proofs of God's existence, right? Francis Bacon, who started the scientific revolution, the thing that you tout as like the Muslim world really needs to catch up with science and enlightenment. Well, why did he engage in his science? He engaged in his science because he thought that it showed the glory of the Creator,
Mm.
right? He has a famous quote: "A little philosophy inclines man's mind to atheism, but depth in philosophy brings men's mind about back to religion," which I think applies here, by the way. We'll find out how. If you look at Immanuel Kant, who wrote the famous essay, "What is Enlightenment?" When he says "Dare to Reason," which is kind of the essay that we all go back to when we talk about enlightenment. Well, he also wrote a book called "Religion Within the Bounds of Bare Reason." And then he says, quote, "Morality leads inevitably to religion." John Locke is the father of modern liberalism. He wrote a book
Free
called The
expression. Yeah.
Reasonableness. He wrote the book The Reasonableness of Christianity. And he said, quote, "The taking away of God dissolves all." Newton, who is the scientist par excellence of the Enlightenment, he talked about all this beautiful system of sun, planets, comets. And he said, this is all tells me about that there's this intelligent being out there. And he even said about atheism, he said, atheism is so senseless and odious to mankind that it never had many professors. Spinoza, for example, is often considered an atheist, but this is not very well informed. In fact, he was described as being God intoxicated. In the prologue, you talk about Jefferson, but Jefferson himself, Thomas Jefferson, who was definitely an Enlightenment figure, he described himself as a, quote, rational Christian. And someone, an author, a scholar describing him said, reason was central to his religious convictions. God had created every human being with the faculty of reason. So you talk about how Jefferson took a razor blade to the Bible, and this is how little he took seriously the Bible. But this is actually an inversion, because what he was doing was, it was an act of faith. He was trying to figure out what the historical Jesus actually said, and he wanted to follow that. There's actually quotes from him where he talks about how this was in order to get to the truth of what Jesus was actually calling to, which is interesting because you and I have had a back and forth about when it comes to the historical prophet Muhammad. What I am doing when I'm skeptical of the hadith is very similar to what Thomas Jefferson was doing. So you have in the very beginning of your book, all these things about enlightenment figures. You talk about the founding fathers, but all of them believed in religion, and they were not deists, by the way. This is another myth, the myth of deism. Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, John Adams, James Madison, they all believed in religion, and they believed religion was necessary in order to sustain an ordered and virtuous republic. And this is kind of my viewpoint, by the way. This is why I think when we talk about religion and how the question we had today is, should the Muslim world embrace atheism? Like you, I am worried about fundamentalism. I believe fundamentalism is an issue. Dogmatism is an issue. And there I diverge from the fundamentalists, obviously. But I don't think the only solution or the only option is atheism. Clearly, there's another option, which I posit is what can be called liberal religion. And with liberal religion, or what's also known as Islamic modernism, is Reformed traditionalism. So they kind of go hand in hand and grow off of each other. But what you do is you present fundamentalism as the only religious outlook. And your book barely didn't mention this other option as well. And then I'll just close with this. Like, again, in your introduction, you write, like, quote, this is your book, like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Jefferson, countless young men and women across the world's Muslim communities are openly questioning the religion of their parents and organizing as they never could before. Unfortunately, this is three strikes, you're out for you. Voltaire, was not an atheist, not an atheist. He was not even anti-Christian. In fact, he says that you must recognize, based on looking at the universe around you, that there must be an eternal craftsman. And then he even said, from the argument of morality, that the moral man who seeks a support point in virtue must admit the existence of a being as fair as he is supreme. What did he say about atheism? Now, you're quoting Voltaire in your book about atheism, and this is what Voltaire says in an entry that he made in the Philosophical Dictionary on the entry of atheism. He says, atheism is a very pernicious monster. It is nearly always fatal to virtue. And he says, I believe atheism is as pernicious as superstition. And then he said, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. That's how important God is. Rousseau, on the other hand, said about irreligion, he says, irreligion causes attachment to life, makes souls effeminate and degraded, concentrates all the passions in the baseness of private interest, and thus quietly saps the true foundations of every society. And this, by the way, is my argument today, why Muslims should not embrace atheism. Jefferson, I already showed you what Jefferson said, but Jefferson said about atheists, they said, atheists say then that it is more simple to believe at once in the eternal pre-existence of the world. But he says, on the contrary, I hold that when we take a view of the universe, it is impossible for the human mind not to perceive and feel a conviction of design. So again, he's falling on our side of that equation. So all of these figures that you call to do not really support your case of atheism. And in fact, they support my case for what is liberal religion, and before liberal religion is actually what can be called philosophical religion, which your book doesn't deal with at all. These founding fathers were actually, there's a connection between them and their ideology and the classical Islamic philosophers. In fact, in the book by Fraser called America's Founders, he says, quote, in this regard, the theistic rationalists, and he's talking about the founding fathers, shared the Muslim position, which held that reason was the sole judge of the truth of revelation. So, and there was a book that that was translated. It was by an Islamic philosopher, Ibn Tufayl, which was translated, Hey Ibn Yaqzan, which many Enlightenment figures were read and were inspired by. So there's this other option out there, which you can call it liberal religion, you can call it philosophical religion, you can call it theistic rationalism, you can call it rational religion. All of them are basically the same thing. But the point is that it's an alternative as opposed to fundamentalism. And that is where I think your book fails, because you don't talk about that. You just show this monolithic image of Islam. So I'll let you, that's kind of my basic outlook that I wanted to
Right. So first of all, what you're reading, what you're quoting, you're actually quoting Ali Rizvi. This is a monologue.
But you endorse
of course I endorse it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll answer that. So first of all, I think where we actually diverge a lot earlier, because you're talking about individuals. Voltaire was very anti-Christian. I can pull up. I was just bringing up.
So he was against the Catholic Church. He was anti-clerical. I can point you to some scholarly books on this. God and the Enlightenment, the Religious Enlightenment, Let There Be Enlightenment. I mean, these are books that you should really read, because they will complicate your view of the Enlightenment.
That still doesn't negate my point. That still doesn't negate my point, and you need to understand my point. We can if we talk about it.
Sure.
What you're doing, you're discussing historical figures. So when people quote Jefferson or Voltaire or Kant or Hume, when people quote them, we quote them for a reason, and how Enlightenment began. We can at least agree that the current Western liberal Enlightenment, the period of Enlightenment that we call, it began in that period. Now, the personal beliefs actually don't matter. Jefferson himself did not. He was very critical of Trinity, of miracles, of atonement, everything.
He was a Unitarian.
Yeah. So but he was also critical of miracles itself as well.
Correct. As people as I am.
Yeah. Right.
So
right. We'll get to that. Jawad, we'll get to that. Let me present my argument forward.
Sure.
My bigger point still remains. For example, Newton being a great scientist is a God believer. It doesn't matter what his personal belief mattered. We're looking at it from a consequentialist worldview, that we look at the current Western world and we go, okay, there was a point in history, what we call Renaissance or Enlightenment period. We call that around about 16th, 17th century. We say from there on, the Western civilization took a dramatic turn, away from theocracies, away from the influence of church, and then look at the end result we have today. So that's how we look at it. We don't what you could argue that what we know thanks to science today, Voltaire didn't know about it. Voltaire didn't know about evolution. Newton didn't know about evolution. There's so many arguments. So there, and this remarkable. Hang on, and then this remarkable quote by Francis Bacon that, little knowledge of science will take you away from God. Full knowledge of science will take you towards God. What the hell did Francis Bacon know about science? And an elementary school student would know more about scientific facts than Francis Bacon would know. So his quote is absolutely redundant. None of that matters. So you can quote people from history, what their personal beliefs were. In fact, I'll go actually one step further. You can even quote scientists today who believe in God, but the scientific opinion, we judge them on the scientific opinion that has been established, that is agreed upon. That is what we go by. So when we talk about enlightenment, we talk about enlightenment values that started. So if you brought up Thomas Jefferson, for example, was a slave owner as well. So would you be a hero then? He would not be our hero when it comes to that. But what he set in motion resulted in a society where we managed to get rid of slavery. We managed to get rid of, we managed to establish equal rights for all individuals. So that's what matters. So what Voltaire said or whatever their personal beliefs were, they don't matter anymore. So I think this is where...
But you're trying to use them. And so first of all, let's be precise.
For the establishment, for the establishment of enlightenment.
So Renaissance is not the same thing as Enlightenment.
Yes, okay.
Enlightenment is a period of history. So we're not in the Enlightenment anymore, right? We're in the postmodernist period now.
Yeah, right.
So you're trying to claim the Enlightenment as the atheist ideal, that atheism is what started this. Otherwise, why is your book starting out with the Enlightenment? Why is your secular jihadist talking about we need an Enlightenment in the Islamic world? You're calling to atheism. So what you're trying to use is this mythical understanding of the Enlightenment, which you're not even clear about, because you say Renaissance, Enlightenment. You're talking about now we're in the Enlightenment.
I'm talking about the period. All these things was happening simultaneously. Okay, so I'm
not the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. These are not the same thing.
I know they're not the same thing, but they're happening around the same time. Protestant movement was also happening around the same time.
No, they're not. These are separate phenomena. These are separate phenomena. They are not the same thing at all, and they don't even happen at the exact same time. This is not true.
So they're not happening in the 16th, 17th centuries, 15th, 16th.
If you look at that time, if you look at the time period, there may be overlap. We can take a look at exactly what the time frame.
All these things were happening. None of these. Nobody's saying they're the same thing. Of course, they have different names, right? But none of these things were happening in the so-called Dark Ages, right? So something happened in the Western world at that point. As a result of that, we live in the current world. You understand that point?
15th and 16th century, okay?
Right.
Age of Enlightenment, 17th and 18th century.
Yes.
It's a different century, my friend.
So none of these things happened. Obviously, there's step-by-step process that happening, and we're using that as a precedence to what.
But that has nothing to do with atheism, though. That has to do with.
Would you agree that the majority of the world is headed towards atheism?
I mean, atheism in recent decades, yes, well after the Enlightenment.
Yes,
and now because we don't. So then you shouldn't use the Enlightenment. Then you should abandon the Enlightenment, because the Enlightenment was conducive to religion. You should not.
No, it wasn't.
All the Enlightenment. Yes,
the whole movement was. No, Javad. Hang on a second. Listen to the point. The whole point of enlightenment is setting things in motion that result to the liberal democracies that we live in today. That's what we're arguing about.
So liberal democracy has no contradiction with religion. Religion is what John Locke, he founded his argument about toleration upon religious arguments. If you read the first and second treatises that he wrote, he's quoting Bible verses to justify what we now take as the foundation principles of secular liberalism. If you read the such as that we were created we're the workmanship of God, that we are dignified. Even this idea of human rights, for example, the foundation of that is we are all created in the it is self-evident that we all created equal, right? Created by who? By God. Even the French Declaration has the supreme being as what you base these human rights upon.
You're still missing the central point. I think you're getting caught up on what I'm using to get to my result. What I'm saying, that what has already happened in the world, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? The Enlightenment led us to these democracies where
Enlightenment,
individualism,
which had nothing to do with atheism.
Okay, so it's not about atheism. It's about you understand that we're talking about liberal values. No. We're making a case for liberal values.
So if you're a religious person, you can call to liberal values. That's
that's fine. And there is contradiction in that, because we know what religious societies end up.
The founder of modern liberalism was
religious
and made his arguments.
Jawad, you're not understanding the point. Jawad, you're not understanding the point.
You have this mythical vision of the Enlightenment.
No.
And you're using that as
No, you're not you're again, like, I mean, you're sitting to my face and you're misrepresenting my views. I've said it multiple times that Enlightenment
has nothing to do
set
with
things into motion.
Sure, you could,
and so that leads. I'm telling you again, I am an atheist with atheists who believes in a worldview, in a system where people are free to believe in whatever they want to believe. One of the core tenets.
That's what John Locke said.
So that's fine. Yeah, so that's fine.
What's wrong with that? He made deeply religious arguments to justify the idea of religious toleration.
If a religious person makes the same argument and he is a proponent of liberal democracies, I have no problem with that. I don't understand where's the beef with that.
So the point is not about what you have an issue with. The point is that your entire argument, your book, starts with by saying that we need to bring this enlightenment, which is atheism. Now, the other point I'm trying to make is
this is not what it says. No, that's not. Go read it again. It says, hang on, Jawad, no. Well, thank you very much. And you still didn't understand. What I'm saying, the argument that we're making, we're making is that enlightenment, this enlightenment values, when we look into enlightenment, it leads to a liberal democracy, which you cannot arrive at by simply being living under the influence of a theocracy. That's what we're arguing. So when we look at the Muslim world these days, Muslim worlds are theocracies, or they're inspired by. Yes.
So who has disagreed? Have I disagreed with you on this?
No, I haven't. You're the one who's bringing it up. You're the one who's bringing it up. You're seeing it as a result from atheism. The topic of atheism or Islam.
I don't know. Do you think that I support theocracy?
Well, no, I don't think so. But you think
my entire point. So let me get to my point then. Let's circle back then. Okay. So my issue is that your book presents a monolithic vision of Islam.
We can get to that.
For example, you say on page 7, this is your introduction, that the Muslim world also contains, and you say, quote, dissidents, freethinkers, and secularists who value freedom over authoritarianism. On page 186, you said we can divide Muslims into 4 categories: jihadis, Islamists, carefree, and seculars. What do you think is missing there, Harris? And then you said on page 63, you said, luckily, most Muslims are bad Muslims. And then you said that moderate Muslims are just those who are less religious, non-practicing. This is on page 16. So what do you think, if you're being, what you should be doing if you're writing a book is, first of all, when you're negating a position, you should not straw man it, but you should steel man it. If you want to negate religion, right, then you should negate its most sophisticated manifestation of it. Or you should say, or in your book, you should have said clearly that you have no issues with that. And
so this is the problem with you modernicists. This is the problem with you reinterpreters of Islamis. And this is where we're going to get into it, right? So you're talking about quoting Voltaire and what the personal beliefs were. They're irrelevant. Again, you missed the bigger point.
Except that you mentioned all of them.
Jawad, maybe we need a moderator then. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand where the sense of frustration comes from. Like, just put point. Like, you're telling me that I should write a book and I should steelman someone's position, but here you are sitting right on my face and you're straw manning me. I'm telling you again. The point that is being made there, and the point that I've been consistently making the same point: Enlightenment values resulted in liberal democracies. I stand by it.
Don't disagree.
Okay, that's great. And when we get to that, when we live in liberal democracies, now that's the point we didn't make, but I learned that point, and now I'm going to make it because now we have more data. Once you get into this liberal democracies, you could argue that some other kind of, wokeism or some other kind of dogma would originate, but religion becomes a lot weaker in liberal democracies. We look at every Western, not survey, actually census results. Religious people are going down. The people are losing their faith. And that is the direct consequence of a liberal democracy, where there is freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and there's open debates and dialogues. That is the end game. That doesn't happen in Muslim countries. And that's what activists are striving for.
So you're now reversing the argument. So you're inverting it. So initially, now you're saying that enlightenment leads to atheism, right? This is a critique.
It's one of the consequences, yes.
This is, I mean, you would be on the same footing as the religious fundamentalists who would argue the same thing. Now, the reality is that
because it's obvious.
This move towards atheism is only a few decades old. We're talking about since the 1960s, 70s. It's the sexual revolution, which is the real linchpin of everything. And which actually, which is a sexual revolution.
200 or 300 years is nothing when it comes to societies.
Correct. But it's a sexual revolution that is actually what precipitated this rise in
everything. Sexual revolution is just a part of it.
Right. Well, I mean, you can look at the correlations, right? So
but you can look at civil rights movement as well. You can look at the
the civil rights movement
was movement as well.
Abolitionist movement and the civil rights movement were deeply implicated in religious ideology.
No. Oh, come on.
You don't think Martin Luther King?
Yeah,
you don't think
you go back to original. You go back.
So you don't believe in personal
views of people. No. You believe in individual beliefs. That's what you believe in. I'm saying, you can find an African black man who would be defending slavery of Muhammad, but when you show him, hey, he specifically owned black slaves, then you'd be like, oh, okay, then he might be thinking, but he was still defended. So Luther King, hang on a second, this is a very important point. So Martin Luther King was a devout Christian. So we know when it comes to religious people, they can turn off certain bits and then they can turn on certain other bits. For example, every man should be equal. Well, it took Christian world nearly 2,000 years to figure that out, that, okay, maybe we shouldn't have slavery. Jesus himself said that a good slave is the one who actually who obeys his master. So you can find similar narrations in Islam as well. All men are created equal, yet one can be a slave and the other one can be a master. What kind of equality that is? It's obviously man-made and it's contradictory.
So this is a silly argument that you make. In your book, you actually write that if it wasn't for religion, we would have abolished slavery a long time ago, which is just the most naive concept in the world. Slavery was abolished because of certain economic changes that happened, namely industrialization, which allowed for abolitionism to develop as a movement.
That's one aspect of it. The southern states didn't want it. That's one aspect of it. Southern states didn't want it. In the cotton field farms, they wanted.
Of course, but it was religious people. It was primarily religious people who were making the argument against slavery. This is a fact.
You find religious people who are advocating homosexuals as well. It doesn't mean we know that religious people can turn off certain parts and they can turn on other parts.
So all you're acknowledging is the fact that religious people can, from their religion, bring out certain resources.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in that.
So
I'm interested in the religion itself. I'm interested in the honest interpretation of religion. That's what I'm interested in.
So then let's throw away your argument that you need to embrace atheism in order to have enlightenment, in order to have civil rights, in order to have human rights. Because we know from a But the historical example that we've just established is the fact that enlightenment was very conducive to religion and religious thinkers. There was a Catholic enlightenment, there was a Jewish enlightenment, there was the enlightenments in general.
Muslim enlightenment too. Hence we're saying Muslim enlightenment too. We need Muslim enlightenment as well.
That's what I'm calling for, right? That's what Mustafa Akyal is calling for,
that's
right?
Fine.
That's what. So why good luck? If it happened in the West, right? If it happened in the West, right? What makes you think that it can't happen in the Islamic world?
But that's what we're trying to do.
Yes, but you're calling for atheism.
But that's
I'm trying to tell you the Enlightenment had nothing to
Okay,
do with
Jawad, I think
atheism.
I'm shocked at this. This is such a simple point you're not understanding.
I mean,
You can
let's talk
advocate. Hang
about
on a
shock.
second.
Yeah.
Let me finish this point again, because
Okay.
this is what I'm
Okay.
saying. Like, I mean, I'm shocked at this. You're also asking for liberal worldview, a liberal renaissance in the Muslim world. Yeah, right. You're for it, right? You're for liberal democracies, right?
So wait, let me speak then. So I believe that certain liberal values are important and that need to be cultivated. However, I consider myself a post-liberal in the sense that I do think that liberalism can go off the rails or to an extreme.
We can
And
go into
we'll
the
talk
nitty-gritty.
and we'll talk about that when we talk about the sexual revolution.
Yeah,
Because I think that is going to be a crux of the issue here.
yeah, exactly. Because a liberal Muslim in 100 years' time, if such a thing would exist by then, they would be like, okay, that's okay. Sexual revolution is fine, because and this is the argument that we're making. So you're going for liberal democracies. I'm going for liberal democracies as well. I happen to be an atheist. Okay, you happen to be a Muslim. Like, what kind of a liberal worldview is this that you're saying that, you know what, you can only arrive at liberal worldview or liberal form of government through a religious angle, but not as an atheist? I just don't understand.
When did I say that? I
No,
never said that.
No,
You're the one who's
atheism.
I'm simply saying that there is another option for Muslims, which is not atheism. So, but you need to acknowledge that when you're writing a book
I do
about this
that.
topic.
No, I don't.
Where?
I don't.
What
No,
page?
no. No. Again, this book is also a bigger part of that book is basically debunking the concept of God, okay, and the problems in Islam.
Okay. So
you can write a book. You can write a book where you reinterpret the Quranic verses and you can debunk these arguments. And you say Islam is all, you know, rainbows and butterflies. You can do that as well. That's fine. But the main argument is Enlightenment movement. It led to liberal democracies, and in liberal democracies, all kinds of ideas can flourish. And atheism now, obviously, that point wasn't made, but premise was laid, but the conclusion can be made now that in those liberal democracies, we see atheism just sprouting like, you know, a flower in spring.
Yes, this happened after the sexual revolution in the 1970s,
and which was caused by enlightenment, which caused by individualism.
Had nothing to do with
Enlightenment movement.
So there is an argument for individualism unchecked leading to that, but the founding fathers themselves believed that religion is important for the societal fabric so that that doesn't happen. So our real debate is going to be whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, not whether the Enlightenment figures themselves actually believed in what you're selling. But let's move on.
That's not even an argument. You're strawmanning it again.
It's not a straw man. Your book is an entire straw man.
It is. No.
Let's go to the proofs of God.
In that.
So hang on. You said that your book is really about proving that God does not exist. That's what you just said. And
debunking
the idea. So let me ask you now, okay? Since you are writing a book on this topic, right? I'm assuming that you did some basic research, right? Like if I would write a book, right, I'd want to be an expert. At least I want to know what I'm talking about before I go publish a book. So can I ask you, in your extensive research, what was, in your opinion, the strongest argument for the existence of God? Not the one that obviously you don't agree with it, but you and I can both agree that there might be a strongest argument on the other side. Is there a strongest argument that you found when it comes to the existence of God?
No, when I turn my reasonable mind on, I actually don't find any argument strong.
So none of that. So which one is the least bad? Which one is the least bad then?
To me, I'm sorry, I put them all equally bad, because any argument that can be easily debunked, they're all bad. I can't say with intelligent design or the teleological intelligent design or cosmological argument. They're all bad because they've all been debunked by people on both sides of the spectrum.
So what do you think about Ibn Sina's contingency argument?
It's a bad argument, because to get out of that, you insert a necessary being in that. I mean,
but that's what it's proving, though, right? That's the argument itself.
No, it's a bad argument, because if you make a full stop because you want to get rid of the infinite regress, then we can also one step before. We can say the universe, or the matter required to create the universe, or to form a universe, was always there. It was always there, because you're applying.
You're talking about the Kalam cosmological argument. You're not
I'm
talking
talking
about
the contingency argument, everything being contingent on that. All of them end with the necessary being, right? It's a necessary being, but without any explanation for a necessary being itself.
So the entire argument is the argument for the necessary being.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't make that argument. Scientifically, that argument is invalidated. You understand that?
Oh my God. So in your book, you actually say this. You say, this is on page 29. You say, quote, "One of the physicists I respect and admire the most, Dr. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Michio Kaku, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kaku, he said that the question of whether God exists or not is not a scientific question. I could not disagree with anything more than this." The funny thing is, I actually looked him up then and see what he said about God. And
he changed his opinion. He changed his opinion afterwards.
But it's not that. It's the fact is that he said the most commonsensical thing, which you fail to grasp, which is science. This is what he writes, quote, "Science is based on what is testable, reproducible, and falsifiable. That's called science. However, there are certain things that are not testable, not reproducible, and not falsifiable. And that would include the existence of God. Do you see how the existence or non-existence of God would fall outside the kennel of science? Surely you understand that, right? Because science is about what you can observe in the environment around you.
We can apply inductive reasoning as well, because science is all about empirical evidence.
That's philosophy, sir. That's not science.
Okay, so when you make a claim, and I get that science, the opinion that science make is on something that is reproducible, testable, demonstratable, unfalsifiable, etc. But for science, we also go one step back and we say anything that we form an opinion on, objectively speaking, it has to be provable by science. So people like us who say that God most likely doesn't exist. People like us are, if you go in the subtitle of it, is agnostic atheists, because you can't 100% disprove the existence of God, but it seems highly improbable. That's one scientist. You can find Lawrence Krauss. You can find so many other scientists and physicists as well who are confirmed atheists, and they say, well, there's almost no chance of God's existence. So you can, when you talk about philosophy, then you say, okay, with this proposition, we cannot give any respect to it, because if we start giving respect to something that you can just pull something out of your hat, then we open ourselves into believing in all sorts of possibilities of postulations. And God, why stop at just one God?
So do you believe in the principle? Do you believe in the principle of sufficient reason?
Yes.
Can you prove it scientifically? Can you prove it scientifically?
You inductively you could look into certain things, and you could draw
inductively,
that wouldn't be conclusive. No, but by definition, it won't be conclusive. So you could make an idea, but then but you need to have a lot of other corroborating evidence that you could actually use that, and then you can go, okay, I could imagine that. For example, when people talk about simulation theory, people talk about solipsism, they all bring more than one source, what they call evidence. They all bring these different little hypotheses, and then on top of that, they make a general statement, and then they say, so why solipsism could be real and why simulation theory could be real. But because in the scientific community, if it's not demonstratable, if it's not falsifiable, it's not interested. What I say, the bigger argument that we make is that we should only believe in something as a fact that is demonstratably that has been proven by science. This doesn't mean other things don't exist. It doesn't mean that.
This is called logical positivism, and it's been debunked widely. So you're just way behind the times. You think science can prove or disprove God. You should actually listen to the physicists that you or yourself are quoting. But here's where I feel like your argument is just on a level of childishness. So, for example, you say on page 20 of your book.
No, hang on a second. No.
You said, wait, hold on.
Let's go back to that. Let's go back to that.
We're going to this exact point that you made already. Wait, let me just quote this one part where you said, quote, "Who created God?" I remember around the age of 9 or 10, I asked my mother who created everything. And when she said Allah did it, I asked who created Allah. She had no answer. Did you know that your logic that you used when you were 8 or 9 is the same logic that you're still applying? You haven't read any philosophy of religion. You haven't read any philosophy of science.
Give me an answer. To it. Who created God?
The whole argument is premised on the idea. If somebody created God, right? God is simply the name we give for. You could call him Yahweh. You can call him Krishna. You can call him a potato. You could call him a potato. You could call him anything you want. You say that I'm disproving all those gods. The name is not important.
Because there's no evidence.
There's a logical argument that if everything is dependent on something other than themselves,
you're going back to that again. You're going back to the contingency argument, and you're inserting necessary being. You're inserting
it's a conclusion that we know that things exist, right?
Oh my God.
Things exist.
You say that I haven't read anything, and you're bringing up 14th century Anselm's argument to me, and you're saying, "Well, you're bringing something new." This is what's causing the atheist revolution. You know that, right? Because this is such a stupid idea. Hang on a second. This is such a stupid idea. This is such a stupid idea. You're saying that, hang on a second, because we'll go into this infinite regress. Therefore, let me put brakes on it. Let me put, as though this is a mathematical constant, let me insert a necessary being who's always been there, who wasn't created, and therefore he created everything. You know how childish that is?
Okay, so it's not Anselm's argument, by the way. This is the contingency argument of Ibn Sina. Okay,
Anselm's used the same argument too.
No, but and it's not based on an infinite regress. This argument, okay, you are confusing the Kalam cosmological argument with the contingency arguments. Okay,
you know, so how many arguments are in cosmological argument? Do you know Anselm's 4 cosmological arguments? Can you name them?
I'm not here for a pop quiz, okay?
Oh, right. So you're going to tell me that I don't know something, and you don't even know what are the four arguments of Anselm?
I'm not a philosopher of religion.
Oh, right. Now you know, but then you're going to give me a lecture on philosophy.
Yes, because you wrote a book.
You don't even know Anselm's 4 cosmological arguments. You know, cosmological argument is made up of 4 points. You know that?
I know.
I don't think you know this.
Okay. Okay, what are you? I thought you wanted to have a conversation here.
Yeah, because you're now because I see that.
Okay.
No, because you're saying that to me. I came here in good faith.
Okay,
I came here in good faith. I came here. No, you didn't. No, you did not.
Yeah.
You're just throwing terms like childish and something. You constantly, I don't know what you're trying to win.
You've used the word.
I said it now.
No,
you're an academic. You should behave like one. Okay.
You should.
I'm saying
behaving perfectly like an academic.
I'm an activist. I can be very mean and nasty. I can be very mean and nasty.
That's absolutely true.
I can
be.
Let's just Okay. Have a go.
Okay. So, Harris, if you want to have a dialogue on philosophy of religion, then I suggest that you talk to my colleague, Dr. Khalil Andani, who is an expert in the philosophy of religion. I am not a philosopher of religion. However, even with my basic knowledge, because I'm an academic, I could tell that your book suffered from, it was like an 8 or 9-year-old writing a book on these issues. You yourself say that this is an argument.
You're the one who believes in a necessary being without any evidence, and you're going to call my book. Okay, look, if you find that
without any evidence,
look, it doesn't hurt my it doesn't hurt my feeling. My book might be the worst book that was ever written. Okay,
you feel good.
Maybe a 4-year-old would have written a better book, right? That's okay.
I've debated Robert Spencer, and I read his book, and I thought his book was poorly written. But yours is
worse. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Okay.
No. Wait a second. Let's just keep it going. Okay.
Sure. So
your
initial
argument. Let's just recap for a moment. Let's just recap for a moment.
So my first argument is that you had the myth of the secular atheistic enlightenment. So that argument is
you didn't even understand it. You didn't even understand it.
Fine. We can disagree.
You read a forward.
We'll let the audience
understand it.
We'll let the audience.
Yeah, we'll let the audience. Yeah, but I'm not gonna let you rehash it. And I'm gonna have to respond to it.
You said let's rehash. So I was just saying you can disagree with it. Okay. Then we talked about the proof of God we don't want to make this. I'm not a philosopher of religion. I don't want this whole.
But you
podcast to be
believe
about,
God exists. You're not a philosopher, but you believe God exists, and you want to
Yes,
use
because
a contingency argument on necessary being. You should read. You know, there's a YouTube channel called Crash Course in Philosophy. There's by a PhD philosopher. He does that. He make 10-minute videos. Maybe you can understand that too. He actually lists the theistic philosophers who have debunked cosmological argument, all 4 points of it. And I think you're going with the Kalam cosmological and Ibn Sina. Yes, they worked on that, but they're the same argument. It's just different packaging.
No, it's not.
Yes, contingency argument. What is the contingency?
This is your.
You don't even know the 4 cosmological arguments. There are 4.
So I know what the cosmological
movement degrees. Let me.
You're just reading out loud from you're reading it from the screen as well. The reason why I didn't want to say it.
I have no screen, bro.
Okay.
Look, this is my screen. Right. I've got nothing there. You know, like I did not write anything down because I know what the arguments that you modernists make are so stupid.
What's the word you're even using right now?
Modernist.
Oh, okay. There's nothing.
Yeah, you are a modernist, right? It's a fringe view that you present. It's not. Let's just get into Islam.
Yours is a fringe view as well, right?
No, it's not. Majority of people are atheists now. Majority of people are becoming atheists. Majority of scientists are atheists. Majority of scientists are atheists. Okay. Do you want me to quote the Pew survey?
So there are.
Do you want me to bring up Pew survey?
There is a debate on whether how many of them are atheist or not. The actual ones who call themselves atheists is not as high as you think it is.
It's still more than God believers.
So
they are spiritual beings. They're spiritual beings.
According to Pew, according to the poll, just over half of scientists, 51%, believe in some form of deity or higher power. Specifically, 33% of scientists say they believe in God, while 18% believe in a universal spirit or higher power. So, I think you need to retract what you just said now.
Give me a second. Let me give you as well. And by the way, in our worldview, in my worldview, people who are spiritual, people who believe in some sort of a deistic God, etc., for all intents and purposes, they are atheists. For all intents and purposes.
So let's talk about that.
Come on, I mean, come on. Wait, this is no way to have a conversation.
So let's talk about this point that you just said about deism. I'm having a conversation. Okay, right. You just may not like it, the fact that I'm coming with facts, but you're coming with nonsense. So you say in your book, this is what you say about deistic God. You said, quote, on page 6, I must admit it is impossible to disprove a super being who created the entire universe, a deistic God. But I feel strongly that this super being has not yet been described in any known religion. This is on page 6. Then on page 7, you say that you will also highlight the improbability of the deistic God. But I read your entire book 2 to 3 times, and I still did not see any place where you actually tried to do that. And then you said, quote, on page 7, simply put, the deistic God created the universe and then left it. I must admit it is much harder to disprove a deistic God than the popular gods who supposedly interfere every day and listen to our prayers, but the gods we're concerned with are the ones people are fighting wars over. These gods are definitely theistic and not deistic gods. Now, have you heard of the term classical theism? And do you know how that differs from theistic personalism? I'm not trying to pimp you or anything like that. I'm just asking
you are, because you didn't answer. You didn't answer that. So let me show something else to you as well. So
wait, I'm asking you a question.
Well, no, because I'm not going to let you run away from the previous point that you made.
I can't see the screen. It's too blurry.
Everyone can see it. Why can't you see it?
I cannot see it, my friend. Can you just tell me?
Are you kidding?
Okay,
I'll just read it.
I zoomed in. Now I can see it.
Okay, so religious belief among general public and science. So
this is the same percentage I showed you. I just
but now look at the dishonesty how you read it and how I'm going to read it, because this is why I had to. Yeah, so 33% of scientists believe in a God, right? So these are the ones,
capital G God.
Yeah, so you could put them in the traditional sense of religions, right? You could put that. When you go into this 18%, okay, what's this 33 plus 18? What is that?
That's literally the percentage I just read out.
Yeah, that's 51%, right? So now now these ones, to me, for all intents and purposes, I count them, if they are deists, I don't care. Jawad, why are you so scared? Like, let me finish my freaking sentence.
Do you think I'm scared of you, honestly?
Yes, you are. Of course you are. Because
Okay,
I can see the pent-up
I
frustration. I came in on good faith. You're not letting me finish my freaking sentence. What?
go
There's
ahead.
nothing's going to happen. People who are on your side, they will remain on your side. Okay. Let me
Harris, go
finish
ahead.
my.
Go
Let
ahead.
me finish my point.
Please be respectful, though. I mean,
Yeah. No, I'm not
you're
going.
now being
Yeah, because
disrespectful. Like,
I will become disrespectful. Let me finish my
okay. How about
point.
this? How about this? Let's reset. I'll let you finish. Let's reset. If I said anything harshly to you, I apologize. Okay.
Please.
Let's talk.
Thank you.
Let's lower
Okay.
the volume. If it's from my
Please.
side, I
Thank you.
apologize.
Okay. Thank you.
Talk.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk man to man like decent people. Okay. Because we
Let's
can
go
do
with
better.
this.
We can do better than.
This is what I told you. This is
Right.
exactly what I wanted. I wanted to listen to you more.
I'm saying let's lower.
Okay.
And let's
I'm
talk.
speaking normally
let's
now.
talk.
I'm speaking normally now.
Well, okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's get a smile and let's keep going. Okay.
So you need to you said that you need to steel man other person's position, yeah? And you
Mhm.
quoted my book where I did say that it's much more difficult for deistic people who believe in a deistic God. I also say that as a God of irrelevance. It doesn't matter to me. My problem is with religions, more specifically Islam. So if we put these AAAC scientists, who 33% of them believe in God, right? Now, 18% could be deistic, spiritual, Hindus. I don't know. I don't care. They're not a threat to me. I don't give two F's about it. But also, above all, the bigger point in this is these are all personal beliefs. This one can lead you to atheism simply because there's a scientific method in place. I don't believe in something that is not supported by evidence. Okay, maybe we might find evidence in 100 years' time about God. Let's just say that we might find it. Then these people will be proven wrong at that point. But 41% people do not believe in God, and you know why I would put 7 in that as well? Because religious people would profess that they do believe in God, whether they're scientists or not. Maybe in this day and age.
Now refused is going in your
40,
camp.
So we have 49%, and these are irrelevant people, 33%. So majority of scientists do not believe in God. I leave that spiritual power. And when I say by God, I mean religious God. The God of irrelevance does not matter to me. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, is there anything else you wanted to say on this point? Because then I do want a few minutes to expound on this issue of deism, if that's fair with you.
No.
Okay?
I might see what you have to say. Because I need to know whether you understood my point or not.
No, I understand your point. Your point is
well. Let's just see. So let's just see the counterpoint.
Your point, but I do want to get out everything that I'm saying on this, and then I'll let you respond. Okay. So your point is that they perhaps believe in a deistic God, but a deistic God is not of relevance to you because it's so different than the God of religion. That's your argument. And that is the argument that you raised in your book as well. So I don't think I misunderstood you here. Okay. But what I am trying to raise to you now is the point that in the Islamic tradition, as well as in Judaism, as well as in Christianity, there has always been a division between people who can be labeled classical theists and who follow theistic personalism. And this is an important distinction to make because classical theism is not deism. It has the word theism literally baked into it. So all of these figures that I was talking about before to you, as well as scientists, very well could be, and many of them were, arguing for a conception that's consistent with classical theism, which is not theistic personalism or the personal God that you write about eloquently in your book about how you're not convinced about. So for example, when you say this is the God who gets angry, who smites down people, who is emotional, who like stomps down on people, has, anthropomorphic descriptions, this is the God of theistic personalism. And this, yes, is one conception within these traditions. But there was a competing conception, which, for example, was held by the Islamic philosophers of past, as well as closely by the Mu'tazila or the Islamic rationalists. So they believed in what's called divine simplicity, which is very much consistent with what you are falsely calling deism. Because deism is the belief, as you said in your own book, that God created the universe and then walked away or was no longer retreated. But what classical theism is saying is that God, or the necessary being, is the ground of all reality. It is the ultimate reality upon which everything else is based, and it's a continuous act of creation. Look, I'm talking right now, so if you don't share the screen, that would be kind of nice. Okay.
No, sorry, it wasn't interrupting you. Sorry.
So no, it's okay. I apologize if that was. Thank you for that, though. So what I'm trying to tell you is that many scientists, okay, including the one Dr. Kaku that I looked into, he believes that there is this kind of non-personal, or what we actually call supra-personal God of classical theism, because if there is order in the universe, then there must be someone who creates that order of the universe. Okay, so this is the God of Spinoza. This is the God perhaps that Einstein believed in, but there's a debate. Whether you say that they're just talking about the order of the universe or the giver of that order, that's really the debate. But what I'm trying to tell you is that throughout the Islamic tradition, there have been people who believe in classical theism. And that is a view that you don't address in your book at all and may not be familiar with. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that you can't just hand wave it away and say that's deism, when in fact, many of the figures that you talk about in your book and call them deists, such as the founding figures, were not deists based on
I think we got your point. I think we got
based
your
on
point.
scholarly literature. So,
Okay.
so what I'm trying to tell you is that that is a convincing viewpoint that you should steel man as opposed to hand wave away. That's my argument.
Okay, so I think again this is a problem with you modern interpreters, is like you feel left out, that religious people don't take you. No, again, right? Okay, no, it's not insulting to you as in person.
We're now talking on more friendly terms. Let's
we are.
Let's reset. Let's reset.
Okay, so again, not you personally, but that's the problem of these modernist new interpreters of their own religions. I think they have this beef that atheists don't take them seriously and religious people don't take them seriously. I'll tell you why.
That's correct. Yeah. Religious fundamentalists, not religious people in general.
No, religious people. And I'll tell you why. Because if we look at the same statistic that we looked at, 18% who don't believe in God but do believe in a universal spirit or higher power. Now, this obviously amongst scientists. These are highly educated people, right? But when we look at the general public, people are firm in their definition of God. People are, like this positive theism that you're talking about. They are majority, and in the Muslim world, when you look at it, this number even goes higher than 83%. You would barely see this number amongst general public. So to me, as I said again, when I'm writing a book, when I'm writing an introductory book, I am specifically targeting the most prevalent held belief. Right,
and that's
so when I talk about it, So when I talk about it, and this is why when I even messaged you at some point and you said that this is offensive, that I considered you a modern or new age. I can't remember what term I used. You took an offense to it. Again, I was like, I'm walking on eggshells with this guy here, because I'm hoping.
You also took offense. You also took offense, right? You initially, when I used the word new atheist, you initially
no. I didn't take offense. I just chuckled in that because please.
Yeah.
No,
okay, but go ahead.
No, because
I can't respond to a non-specific claim. So if you find the exact
I'm specifically saying, you said that, Harris, this is very offensive. I'm a traditional Muslim. You said
I never said I'm obviously not a traditionalist. Okay, but I am a traditional believer in the sense of that I follow certain traditional rules. Okay, of regulations.
Yeah. Like praying 5 times. No, because I brought up.
I pray 5 times a day.
Yeah. I brought up.
Let's not bring up like private conversations.
No. I'm not bringing a private conversation, and I'm sure it'd be. No. I'm trying to make a point, because you're attacking me that why I did not discuss such and such things in that. I'm telling you about, because you are all for steelmanning the other person's position. Yeah. I'm sorry if it hurts the feelings of you or Khalil or some people, like, hey, hang on a second. Why are we hardcore new atheists? We just gloss over what you guys have to say. Okay. So this is, my beef is, at the end of the day, even though the conversation might get heated up, and I said that initially as well, that if you're also promoting or striving for liberal democracy, I don't see you as my enemy. Mufti Abu Layth is another one. I don't see him as my enemy. I would be more concerned about those Salafis like Hakika Jews, because they're actively striving for a Taliban kind of system, right? So I don't discuss. Let me finish my point.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the business of picking up fringe worldview within Islam. That wife beating doesn't mean this, and it means this and that. Harris, I'm not interested in that.
But can
I haven't finished my point.
Okay.
I haven't, Jawad, I heard your point, please, because I want people to understand. I want people who are listening to you, because obviously a lot of Muslims would be who are here listening to this, they obviously agree with your worldview and how you see Islam, and I call that reinterpretation. I'm not an Islamic scholar. I never claim to be. What I do, I go with the traditionalist worldview. I look at the classical exegesis or interpretations.
Classical, yes. Okay.
Yes. I look at them classical ones, Ibn Kathir or Al-Jalalain or whatever. Yeah. So that's why I address them. I'm not interested in addressing your rosy picture of Islam.
So my rosy picture of Islam, my friend, classical theism stretches back 1,000+ years. Okay,
Fringe.
Ibn Rushd, Ibn Sina.
What happened to Ibn Rushd?
Farabi.
What happened to Ibn Rushd?
All of these figures throughout Islamic history.
What happened to Ibn Rushd?
So what happened to Ibn Sina? Ibn Sina was given high honors, and yes, there was always a battle in Islam. There was always a battle.
What was the majority? What was a majorly held view?
Okay, so then if your criticism of let me clarify. If you could give me just a few minutes to clarify this aspect for you, okay? So the view of the classical Islamic philosophers was that we have a view of the intellectual elites, and we know that religion uses symbols, metaphors, allegories in order to convey higher philosophical truths. This was their viewpoint, okay? And they said that we do not share this viewpoint with the masses because the masses are uneducated and they need to follow the literal interpretation, because if we go and tell them the deeper truths, they will lose both philosophy as well as religion, okay? Or as we say now, science and religion, although that category didn't exist. So there was always this division between the elite and the avam and the masses throughout Islamic history. What happens in the modern period is that this collapses with mass education and the collapse of Islamic institutions. So you're calling this a fringe movement, but this was the dominant, like any, not modernist like me, but any philosopher, professor of Islamic studies, Islamic philosophy will tell you, you can read the books that they write, that the most dominant philosopher and thinker in Islamic history was Ibn Sina. Ibn Sina was so influential that some people have even called Ghazali as Avicennan.
And Ghazali was not dominant?
Ghazali was also very influential, but he was influenced by Ibn Sina. My point is that in Islamic intellectual discourse was always an elite discourse. Okay? Now, in the modern period, you're right. We are struggling with this issue that now mass education, and what's happening is that those people who are uneducated are now in positions of
I think
power.
I got your point. I think I got your point. But so first of all, let's get this straight. Do you absolve me of this crime? That the reason why I do not address that is because I could be wrong, because I think these are fringe views and I'm not interested in them. I'm looking at the current situation.
So
no, but do you accept, understand, agree with that?
If you had said in your book and in your writing and when you speak, but especially in your book, because you're writing a book, there's some responsibility when you write a book, that if you had said that I am simply critiquing this particular strain of Islam or this particular subset. Can I finish the sentence though? Hold on. Let me finish. Okay.
I got your point.
If you had said, so for example, in your book, I told you how you said that these are the different categories. You said, quote, we can divide Muslims into 4 categories. Yes. Jihadis, Islamists, carefree, and seculars. Right?
Yeah.
So in that division, if you're going to divide Muslims up, you should have created another category, right?
Which
that
is?
There are, you could have put liberal Muslims. You could have put philosophical.
No, the bottom two fall. The bottom two.
No, because you said
they could overlap. They could overlap. No, secularists.
But you said that carefree are simply people who are not religious and don't know their religion, whereas
which is a majority of them.
No, that's not true, Harris.
Actually, yeah, most are Islamists.
So the other point that I want to tell you is that Islamic modernism itself.
You're going to another point. We haven't discussed.
Well, no, it's a fringe. No, you're talking about fringe, right? So this is on this point. So Islamic modernism was one of the dominant discourses up until there's a book by Albert Hourani, who's not a Muslim scholar, who's literally written about Islamic thought in the liberal age. Wait, hold on. So who was in 19th century India? Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was like the most popular figure, okay? He was an Islamic modernist. They were done. The Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar in the
Do you know
earlier
some of the
times
sayings
was a
of?
modernist.
Do you know some of
Was
the
a
sayings?
modernist.
Do you know some of the
I'm
sayings
not
of?
denying. I'm not denying that they got takfired and they got called kafirs.
No,
Nobody's
no.
denying.
Even his own views.
No,
Even some of his views were very repugnant.
but you and I just agreed that we don't take just all the views of one person and say
Yeah,
that.
but then you.
So
you
we
start,
can be
you start-
critical when it comes to Thomas
So
Jefferson
this
and
is why-
Rousseau and
Yes.
Voltaire, but we
Yes.
can't be critical when
We
we're talking
can.
about Sayyid Ahmad
That's
Khan
I gave
and
you the
like other
example of
people.
slavery. I gave you the example of slavery of Thomas Jefferson. This is why you're missing the key point here. It's irrelevant what people, historical figures, what they thought, what not. We look at from a consequentialist point of view. We look at what are the consequences. When I'm existing in the 21st century, and I'm looking at the Muslim world, we can argue that how we arrived at that, what's the true message of Islam, it got lost over the 1400-year history or whatnot. As an atheist, which we briefly touched on, that there's no argument, there's no decent argument or evidence for God's existence. So I'm an atheist. You can disagree with that. You can go with your God, whatever. So I'm already gone past that step. Now I'm looking at the society. I'm looking at the world. We have a liberal worldview. The Western liberal democracies, we look at that. We go like, okay, the standard of living, lifestyle, everything is better in these liberal Western democracies. But then conversely, when we look at the Muslim world or any other world that is governed by strong traditional historical, that look basically backwards, they actually are backward in present as well. So this is why I'm addressing that. To me, the Muslim world, which you agree, needs enlightenment, some sort of liberal values. Obviously, you don't agree with all of them. And then we can, and by the way, when I was writing the book, wokeism was not that much of a problem. It's barely touched upon as well. So you could actually critique me on that how far liberalism can take you to this woke mania. You could critique me on that as well. That wasn't discussed as well at that point, even though like it was still in its infancy at that point. But what I'm arguing here is that you don't need to convince an atheist like me that, hey, you know what, this is what's wrong, because our end goal is almost the same: liberal democracies, freedom of expression, high better standard of living, etc., etc. But you're saying that you can arrive at that from Islam. Fine, go for it. But you have a hard time convincing 94% of Pakistanis in Pakistan who call themselves traditional Muslims with traditional interpretation, not the interpretation that you're talking about. You need to convince them, not me. I'm not even interested in that. I am interested in telling people there is no evidence for God's existence. There is, there's no rational, philosophically or scientific argument to be made for God's existence, and skip that part and go straight into, liberal form of government. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you've recapped. So I can recap as well that number one, the very thing that you're calling for does not require atheism, but in fact was a religious infused phenomenon, which is the Enlightenment. Number two is that there are strong reasons to believe in an originator, sustainer of the universe. This is why your own scientist that you quoted believes that there must be someone who creates that order in the universe, and many scientists and philosophers believe
There's
that.
so many others I quoted as well who don't believe in God.
Absolutely, I'm not denying that, Harris. But you're saying that the view is irrational and superstitious and stupid. I'm not. I think it's completely rational to be an atheist. I'm not saying otherwise. So you're the one who's saying that I'm irrational and stupid, right? I'm not saying.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, my friend.
Even in the book, I've quoted that there's so many brilliant people, and
yes,
the whole point of bringing.
But you say that on this issue they don't have rational reasons for believing what they're believing.
Yes.
That they're still being. So you raise, for example, Ben Shapiro, and you say that he's this brilliant guy, despite the fact that he's this right-wing nut, but you say that he's a brilliant guy.
Well, I didn't understand him much at that point. Obviously, this is a 5-year-old book. You got to.
Okay. So from Enlightenment, let's talk about science, because that's a big part of your book. Okay, you'd say that religion stops critical thinking, reason, and science, right? So this is why you say, quote, "This is why progressive thinkers despise religion. It actually stops progressive thinking. If you did not have a book that said Adam and Eve were the first humans, you would not be lagging in the invention of modern vaccines that could not have been invented without the understanding of evolution." This is on page 9.
Yeah.
Of course, the first successful vaccine was pioneered by Edward Jenner, who said that he was motivated by God and his belief in God for that. There was a precedent for vaccines in the Ottoman Empire. The COVID vaccine recently
You
was
understand
invented
there's
by two Turkish
irrationality in that.
Muslims.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
understand
But
there's
wait,
irrationality in that. Yeah?
Okay, but hold on, my friend. Let me just say
You
this.
cannot
But then
you cannot believe in
you
Adam
say-
and Eve and believe in
you said-
evolution simultaneously. You cannot.
I believe in evolution, and I
No.
also
I'm saying you. Oh, and you also believe in Adam and Eve?
I believe it's an allegory. I've already said this very
Oh,
publicly.
yeah. So that's fine. Javad, I'm with you.
Hold on, my friend,
I'm about to agree with you.
My friend, hold on, but let me just finish the point, and then you can, because I need to present the argument, right? So then you say that religion actually blocks science. You say, quote, science is an alternative that gives us answers rather than mystifying the natural world and natural processes that religion has told us not to think about. Okay, so then you present this idea that religious people are all fideists, all right? That they all just believe this is what the text says. Now I close my mind. There's no reason and rationality. But this is not a fair picture of the Christian tradition or the Islamic tradition. Okay, for example, in Christianity, there was always the understanding of faith-seeking understanding. Not only that, but the origins of modern science go back, and science in general has religious origins. The idea of a monotheistic God is what allowed for the existence of uniform natural laws. Many physicists agree with this, including the one you yourself mentioned, Dr. Kaku. Religion is what created a book culture around which this kind of learning and knowledge took place. And religious thinkers, far from saying that religion blocked them from doing science, they actually said that belief in religion is what compelled them to do science. They would quote, for example, that this is God's handiwork. They would call, for the Bible, they would quote Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. So they believed, these medieval Christians, that we study the universe in order to know God. This was the same view that was espoused throughout Islamic history. Do you deny, for example, Ibn Rushd? He said that the Quran itself says to reflect on the universe around you.
Ibn Rushd's belief in God is very questionable.
So that is
Ibn
false.
Rushd, yes, no, it's not. Okay. There is no direct literature.
He has written many books. Have you read a single book by Ibn
Rushd?
They have,
but they haven't survived. They've been written by secondary sources. Those books haven't survived.
You're not correct, my friend. Okay, he has many books that are written. He literally defends God. He has a proof for the existence of God. You've once again done to him what you do to all these Enlightenment thinkers and create this mythical understanding in your brain. You can't go online and search for this because the internet is not the right place to search. He has proofs for the existence of God. He literally says, he quotes the Quran. He says, have they not contemplated the dominion of the heavens and the earth and what things God has created? And then he says, this is Ibn Rushd. He says, existing things indicate the artisan, he's talking about God, only through cognizance of the art in them. And the more complete the cognizance of the art in them, the more complete is cognizance of the artisan. So he is basing his belief that we need to study the world and science and philosophy based on his religious belief. And this is what all of the Islamic philosophers and natural scientists believed, the natural philosophers believed. So there was a viewpoint in Islamic history
there's a Stanford encyclopedia, and I'm reading that.
Okay,
most of his work has been lost while readers await the day of their rediscovery. They must generally make do with medieval translation in Hebrew or Latin.
So that's correct. There are translations that are...
He has
Arabic. He has multiple Arabic texts. He has 3 Arabic texts that are just on religion and philosophy. He has a huge corpus. So you're saying that in this mysterious corpus that you don't know, perhaps he didn't believe in God.
Okay, I'm not an expert in that. Okay,
but I am. I am an expert on that. Okay.
Well, then talk to me. Talk to me as if I'm your student. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on Ibn Rushd, and I don't.
So what I'm trying to say is that throughout Islamic history, there was a huge advances that were made in science. This is not limited.
I get it. Okay, I get it. I got your point. You've been talking nonstop for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, but then I'll just close. Not 5 minutes, but let me just close with that one sentence. Okay. The Islamic science thrived for 1,000 years, okay? And it was on the basis of their religious convictions that these people engage in science. We know that because they said it. And they would often be theologians. Most of them were theologians. Some of them were faqiihs. Some of them were literally legal jurists.
I got your point.
Similarly, in medieval Christendom, they were men of the church. You say in your
really
book.
drag it back.
So
really
how?
hone in.
So if religion blocks science,
Yes.
what do you say about
Because
the
I've
last
already told you.
1,000 years of history
Because
that tell you otherwise?
Okay. No, it doesn't tell me otherwise. It gives
Okay.
me exceptions. They're not the rule. They're exceptions.
And by the way, the Stanford Dictionary says, with important exceptions, most of his works are available in the original Arabic.
Yes. Okay. Fine. With the so let's get back to the original point that you're saying that, okay, I'm saying, let's steelman my own position. I'm saying religion leads you away from science. You're giving me these, you're quoting these little people, these people, influential people here and there, both in the Christian world and in the
entire tradition, sir.
No, not the entire tradition. Come on,
Ghazali
okay, let me finish the point.
What about Ghazali?
Ghazali said women are made to serve women. And
what does that have to do with science?
And it needs it leads you the worldview that if you follow, and these are brilliant people, if they're looking at the same text that you're looking at, hadith, critically, Quran, maybe metaphorically, they're coming at different conclusions, which have real life consequences, which create societies around us, the societies that we are still stuck in the 21st century. Let me tell you something. Why? Because if I read this, if I'm a Muslim, and this is the reason why majority of Muslims are not like you, they're like, Dr. Isar Ahmed, that kind of Muslims, okay, or Salafi, or Wahhabis, or Deobandis, or Brelvis, or superstitious people who believe in flying donkeys and all that, okay? When you look at this one, okay, this is Sahih Bukhari. It says, if a man has sexual intercourse with his wife,
you're scattergunning now. You're scattergunning.
No. I'm making a specific point. This is religion and science. If a man has sexual intercourse with his wife and gets discharged first, the child will resemble the father, and the woman gets discharged first, the child will resemble her. Okay, this is, and this is just one example. Okay, let's look at another one. Okay, he said, okay, where is it? Give me a sec. Let me give you another one. Dates and poison, right? And one Muslim scholar even drank rat poison, apparently, which I don't believe it. I heard Allah's messenger say, whoever takes 7 dates in the morning will not be affected by magic or poison on that day. And I can go on and on about these scientific claims that these people make, and they have real life consequences. Now you tell me, okay, Abdul Salam was an Ahmadi Muslim. Hang on,
my friend.
I listened to you for 10 minutes. Please let me make my point. I know that this is your weak point, because once I start opening your literal text, this becomes really embarrassing, because you guys complicate things. It is. Also, this is not embarrassing. I'm sure it's embarrassing. This is a reason why you want to run away from it.
This is embarrassing if I believe
if you believed in it.
Yeah,
exactly. But you're not. But majority of Muslims do believe in that, and I'm addressing. My book is addressing that. My activism is addressing those people. You can say. You can
continue. Just continue your point, and so that I can respond, please. Okay. We are having. Agreed, we're having a good discussion, correct? These are difficult topics. We're having a good discussion, my friend. Okay, I saw you have debates with your friend, is it Armin? Yeah. You guys get into it too. So
we get into it. Okay.
Friendly, okay.
So yeah,
we can have a virtual.
I wish I had known a little bit about you. I mean, I barely watched any of your videos or read anything from you, but I'm just going with this. I'm just basically going blind and just going by what I already know. And this is why I did not want it to be a debate with the moderator, so I actually can see your point. Because one thing that actually fascinates me about you don't like that term, but
no, I don't mind the term, my friend. Okay. I follow philosophical religion, which goes
back
from the very beginning of
Islam.
Keeps
changing.
Because these are academic terms. These are academic terms.
22nd century modernists would be different from you. So let's just go back.
Just like you believe in progress, right?
Yeah, I do. But my worldview doesn't. My worldview is not against that. Your worldview should be, because
my view.
God sent. Okay, we're getting distracted. We're getting distracted. I'm going to forget my original point.
Okay, you were talking about the texts, how they're embarrassing and they are bad scientifically, etc. So you made that point. Can I respond to that?
No. I haven't even made that point. No, I haven't even made that point. I'm saying because you keep going back to addressing my book. First of all, it's 5 years old. Since then, I've actually found a lot more flaws in Islam. And maybe I need to do another book on that and then be more specific in all the embarrassing bits. When I say in that book the part that you quoted, you're right. I say that a lot of interesting, intelligent people also believe in God. So I'm not saying holistically they're stupid, but on that particular idea, they are wrong and dare I say, irrational as well. So you say, oh, hang on a second, Harris. If that was the case, how can, these theists come up with vaccines, for example? So I say, we just said earlier.
Not the argument. That's not the argument I made. That's not the argument I made.
Sorry.
I made the argument that I made was you are saying that religion blocks people from science. And what I'm telling you is you have the whole of history.
Yeah, this is what I said.
Tell you otherwise.
Yeah, no.
So for example, okay. So Harris, let me answer 2 points now. Okay. Number one is you yourself said in your book that you said this strange thing in your book where you said that the church kept scientists captive. I have the quote if you want. And
I spoke about Galileo and Michael Servetus, and
so there's a book called Galileo Goes to Jail: The Myth of the Conflict Between Religion.
Yeah, I know, but so you're counting on disagreement. You're counting on disagreement. There's a lot of scholars who agree that he was shown a backbreaker, whatever that torturous method is. He was shown this.
My friend, there is no credible historian of science who now believes in the conflict.
I'm not going to take your word for it. Let's just go.
Okay,
Michael Servetus was burnt at stake. Giordano Bruno was burnt at stake. Was he not burnt at stake?
This is literally in the book. You should read it.
Giordano Bruno not burnt at stake?
It's in the book. It's in the book. Just read the book. Okay?
Is he burnt at stake? I'm asking you a question. You're a historian, right? You're an academic.
I'm not a historian of that period, so I don't want to misspeak.
Giordano Bruno.
Look, I'm very careful in what I say. So when I say something, I want to be precise. Okay? So therefore, when it's talking about this topic, I ask you to go look at History for Atheists.
Giordano Bruno, Michael Servetus.
There's a guy who specializes in this.
Yeah, but there's another guy who specializes who disagrees.
But there's a difference between real historians and people who are pop writers. So, okay, but Harris.
My point.
Can I respond to?
Let's go back. No, I haven't even addressed the point.
But you said about the hadiths and that stuff. So can I respond?
No. Yeah, you can come to that. There was a reason why I showed the hadith. So I haven't formulated my whole argument. So you're saying that okay, and you're saying that okay. How about all these Christian theists, and I don't think you have any Muslim example, but maybe you might find some.
A Muslim example of what? Sorry.
Who have contributed towards scientific discoveries. Yes, Ibn Sina. Yeah, no.
In history?
I'm joking.
You're joking, right?
I'm joking, of course.
Like you know that they are the ones who advanced science.
The golden age. The golden age. Yes. Okay.
No. The golden age is a myth. The golden age is constraining it to 200, 300 years. For example, Neil deGrasse Tyson falls into
yes, Ghazali argument. I know. I don't buy that argument.
In reality, okay, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, you're speaking like you didn't even let me speak to the point. You showed those hadiths. You showed your shared screen.
I haven't even formulated. I haven't even told you why I showed that.
Okay,
I haven't even told you why I showed that.
So please.
I'm addressing your primary.
Stay on point, please.
I'm addressing your previous point that you quoted from my book, and I'm trying to address that. Okay, I might be wrong.
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
I might be wrong. There's a couple of positions in my book that I've actually revised my position. For example, the Sweden rape cases and all that. I've revised a couple of things. Okay.
Sure.
I take pride in changing my worldview.
We all make mistakes. There's no problem.
Yeah, but so far I haven't what you have pointed out yet. Okay, so
okay.
So I'm saying, and this is the point that I made earlier, that religious people can turn off their religious mind. Certain bits they can turn it off, and then they can look at it holistically. When I say that religion blocks science, is that what I wrote, or I said religious people? I think I said religious people. So maybe it needs a bit tweaking. I say religion. If I look at religion, the philosophy of religion is actually against scientific discovery. There's a hadith. There's even a Quranic verse that says that don't ask that many questions because you may go astray. Allah doesn't answer you these questions. The whole mood, and again, majority of Islamic scholars have also understood it that way. For example, there's a famous hadith, Bukhari hadith. Allah says, Muhammad says, if someone asks you, hang on a second, I know you don't believe in that, but I'm making a bigger.
I get your point, my friend. Like,
no, but it's not just for you; it's for other people as well.
Yeah,
it's for other people as well.
You're just trying to shock talk and not allow me to.
No, it's for other people. Jawad, is for other people as well.
Okay, can you wrap it in one sentence now?
No, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I need to elaborate on that point. because what the point that I'm discussing in the book, this is a critique of my book, basically. So the point I'm addressing, I'm tweaking that if there's misunderstanding. I need to clarify that. The mood of religion, especially Islam, discourages you from learning new things. Now, you can find examples. You can say, okay, but so-and-so brilliant people did that despite being religious. Okay, that's fine. My argument, my response to that is those people turn off their religious mind in that moment, and then they go ahead with that. Francis Collins is another example. It is a guy who decoded human DNA. There's a famous hadith. A man asked Prophet Muhammad, who created God? He said, then Prophet Muhammad did not bring out the contingency argument or the necessary being. He said, when someone asks you this, recite this this dua, which said something like, oh God, save me from that, and so and so. When people question, when Prophet Muhammad makes the grafting case, that, okay, if you do grafting, people did not question him. He made a scientific claim. He makes a scientific claim that 7 dates would save you from poison. Ironically enough, he dies from poison. So I'm talking about the mood, the overall mood. If I'm a simple, not everyone is as blessed, as intelligent as you, doctor. No ordinary Muslims can't be as academic as you are. When they look at this, when they read this, when they look at the clergy, when they look at thousands upon thousands of clerics, they also understand Islam the way I have understood it, and that discourages you from going into scientific discoveries. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I need my time to respond to this, okay? So your argument in a nutshell can be rehabilitated in such a way that I actually agree with it, which is religious dogmatism and fundamentalism and literalism can block a scientific mind. I agree with this. This is no disagreement here, okay? So if you take texts super literally, this can be problematic. However, throughout Islamic history, the dominant viewpoint, this was held, by the way, by the traditionalists as well. Ghazali came up with it and Razi followed it as well, Fakhruddin al-Razi, was that if anything from a revelatory text contradicted what we know through reason for sure, that is scientific fact as we would call it today, then we take an allegorical, a figurative interpretation of the text. This was a viewpoint held by the Islamic theologians and by the Islamic philosophers, who are the very people who passed down our Islamic intellectual tradition. It was not the person who was on the donkey cart,
Why is it not a widely held belief then?
But my friend,
why is it not a widely held belief?
Okay, that's a great question, and I'm glad that you see now we're having a real conversation.
No, but this is what
I still need a few minutes to respond, but we're having a good conversation. So thank you for asking that. This is the gripe that I have, my friend, when what happened is in the modern period, there was a contraction of Islamic thoughts. I didn't know this, by the way, until I studied Islamic tradition in the Western University. I learned at the hands of non-Muslim scholars who taught me my own tradition that I was distanced and broken away from.
Was it fringe though?
Wait, my friend, it was not fringe. It was held by all of the Islam. I need to finish though, please, and then you can respond, because we're having a good conversation. This was the dominant viewpoint amongst Islamic theologians and Islamic philosophers. In the modern period, you have the rise of Wahhabism, which was also a fringe movement that was then propagated by petrodollars. And then you had the rise also of the very conservative Deobandi movement in India and Pakistan, or the subcontinent at that time. These movements are what caused this shift and contraction of Islamic thought. Now, the other point I want to make is that you say that religion blocks science, but clearly it does not. If throughout Christian and Islamic and Jewish history, all of the leading scholars were men of religion, to the point where scholars have written that almost all of them were men of the church or legal jurists. For example, you say Ibn Rushd, maybe he didn't believe in God. My friend, he was a Maliki jurist. He was literally, he has written a legal text on Islamic fiqh. So the point is that from a historical perspective, your theory is proven false. And if you say that it's not, wait, hold on, my friend, let me finish and then you can talk, okay? You have said that religion blocks science, but what I'm trying to tell you is that it's only religious literalism and fundamentalism that blocks science. And if you say that I'm going to discard all of these people of history, which was, we're talking about 1,000-year history.
I get it.
Wait, hold on. I need to finish.
You got your point. I got your point.
I let you speak. Harris,
Very
I let you
painful.
speak, so let me.
No, you didn't.
I did.
If we're going to
I
measure,
did.
you've
I
spoken
did.
more.
I
Okay.
did. I did.
All right, wrap it up.
So, I am wrapping it up, my friend. Just like I asked you to wrap it up before, and you said no, but I'm going to say yes. I will wrap it up, okay? Because I like you. All right. So, and by the way, I do like you. By the way, I actually think that you're a congenial guy, and I want to have a congenial conversation with you. Okay, so
Yeah.
I want that out there. Okay.
I hope you like me more after today.
I like engaging conversations. I have no problem.
I do think that there's a lot of
we're gonna have a
halal
frustration.
Beer.
I'm gonna have a halal. I do have frustration with your.
I do.
With
you
your
and Khalil,
viewpoint,
I'm shocked.
with your ideology. With your ideology, but not as you as a person.
Okay? No, that's fine. My ideology has a reason.
But hold on. Hold on, my friends.
Let's wrap it up.
So I am wrapping it up, but don't be rude, man. That's kind of snappy.
No,
but I will. Come on, man. Okay. So the point is that if you say that I'm not going to look at the fact that all these Enlightenment thinkers, all of these great natural science philosophers, which are what we call scientists in history, even into the modern period, were all religious, and they themselves said that they were motivated by their religion and their belief that I'm investigating God's handiwork. If you discard all of that, then your theory, the narrative that you've constructed, the theory is unfalsifiable. And for somebody then to say that I am this rational, new atheist thinker, I don't do superstition, I'm scientific. But when you create this narrative myth that's unfalsifiable, that goes against the very spirit of what you're saying.
Okay.
So I have specific quotes here if you want, where I'll show you that historians of science acknowledge that all of these scientists that we call today were religious.
Yeah, okay. Again, we have never denied that. We have no problem with that. That argument can be summed up very simply. Religious people can turn off their religious mind, and then they can look.
But they themselves are saying that they're turning on their religious mind.
No.
They're saying that it's their religion.
We know that.
What about Abdus Salam?
Abdus Salam said.
I'm talking about 1,000+ year history.
Listen, I'm telling you about a religious mind, how they can turn off certain bits and then they can turn on. Abdus Salam, after his theory, which he won the Nobel Prize with Steven Weinberg, Feynman. He said that I opened the Quran, I read it, and I came up with this. There's an Indian mathematician, Ramanujan. He said that a Devi, he's considered the guy who knew infinity. There's this Devi. She used to tell me at my nighttime what these mathematical theorems are, and then he said that he credited his Devi. We know religious people behave that way, and I go back to it again. That I'm looking at the philosophy of religion itself. And we have agreed that this is Islamic literalism, dogmatism, fundamentalism. Now, we agree on that must cause it. My argument is that when I look at the Muslim world, this is all I see. You guys are, I'm sorry to say, it's not an insult to you. You're my ally in that part alone. You are a fringe. Nobody takes you seriously. I'm sorry. Academically, maybe, like you can write your wonderful books and, like you can sit in your fancy classroom and you could say in armchair interviews or whatever, and I wish you best of luck and I hope it happens. But majority of Muslims are not like that. And so when I'm addressing this, and you get, this is how bad it is. Like, and I apologize to you that I did not factor in Muslims like yourself. I did not go into Farabi. I didn't go into Farahi school of thought, apparently, which is very enlightened. I did not go into that because atheists don't take that seriously. Neither do traditionalist Muslims. Now, here's a point that you made, and I'm not an expert on that. I'm not going to argue with you any further than that because it doesn't discredit my position. You say, well, this is what we see around us is Wahhabism and what the fundamental. So basically, you're making an argument that before Wahhabism, Muslims were more enlightened as a civilization than what they are today. I would give you some basic surface level examples, and that just slaps the argument down. There was no abolition of slavery in the preceding in this so-called enlightened or soft version of Islam, pre-Wahhabism. Let's just call it pre-Wahhabism.
Can I respond to this?
No, you can't. No, you can't. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
You're
scattergunning, but okay, go ahead.
No, I'm not scattering.
We were talking about science. Now you're going to silly.
I've already answered that. No, I've already answered the science part. That people can turn off. People can turn off their brain and then they can go get on with it.
but they themselves are
I don't
saying
care
that
what they
they
say.
base it-
I just quoted you Abdus Salam and Ramajan. They both had
What?
nothing to do with the Quran. His
What?
quantum field theory had nothing
But
to
I'm
do with the
but I'm
Quran.
telling
But
you
he
that
said it.
but
It
I'm
doesn't matter what they say.
throughout Islamic history
It
and
doesn't matter
Christian
what they say.
history, the church is the one that produced the scientists, what you call scientists today. The people who created in the Islamic world were theologians, jurists, like that is the people who they were all men of religion. So
It
when you
doesn't matter.
say so
It
it's
doesn't matter.
unfalsifiable.
It
It's
doesn't. It is
unfalsifiable, my
falsifiable.
friend.
No. Look, as I
Because you
said,
just say that it doesn't matter what they say. Like
yeah, no,
do,
it
do you
doesn't
do you
matter.
ac-
Yeah,
okay, do you acknowledge? So you're saying that we fall from a point, and now in the modern period, I agree with that. If you look at science, for example, you can take a quote of Dalal in the book Islam, Science, and the Challenge of History. This is a historian of science. He writes, until the rise of modern science, no other civilization engaged as many scientists, produced as many scientific books, or provided as varied and sustained support for
we
scientific
have
activity
examples.
than
So
the Islamic
the
world.
church was against Michael Servetus, Giordano Bruno, and I know Galileo. You're giving conflicting evidence. We have evidence. There's a lot of historians who actually
My friend.
disagree with that position.
So when it comes to, there are books on this issue, like they're called, you in your book you say the word Dark Ages, right? You should know that there's now been disproved by historians of science. There's a book that's literally called The Light Ages by Falk. There's the book The Genesis of Science: How the Christian Middle Ages Launched the
I think
Scientific
you're reading too many
Revolution
Christian
by Hanam. There's Galileo Goes to Jail, the book I told you about. There's Islamic Science and the Making of the European Renaissance by George Salaba. There's The House of Wisdom by Jim Khalili, if you want a more popular book.
That's okay.
These are
with
books
that.
you should read, my friend.
No, I like Jim Khalili, by the way, and yes, I do agree that a lot of I still go with the golden age period.
And those,
I don't call it a
like
myth.
like Galileo himself was a religious thinker. So probably was
Newton.
Bruno, I believe. He was a Platonist.
Yeah, but he was burned at stake, man. Come on.
But the point I'm trying to say is that there is another side. There's another option.
I know that. I've already counted that point. I've already. This is for the fourth time I'm saying that we know that religious people can turn off their religion for a moment. You cannot believe in Adam and Eve theory, and I get it. You can turn that into allegory. You can look at it as a metaphor, right? This is one of your coping mechanism. That okay, you know what? Adam and Eve is a metaphorical story. It's not a literal story. Now I can get on with my evolution experiment, and I can believe into evolution. Okay. That this is a coping mechanism, and this is what I mean by when I say that people can turn off their religious mind, and then they can turn on the scientific mind. This, fair enough. I'm all for you. Well done. Good luck. Keep turning off your religion, and this dates hadith or Allah's thrown under the water or whatever. You can go with that. Turn that into a metaphor and get on with your scientific revolution. I'm with you on that. Again, the argument that I have made in the book that is yet to be debunked by you is that the religion, and you have also come a little bit to my side, but not entirely, and that's fine, that is dogmatism, literalism, that's what stops you from scientific.
Right.
And this is how I'm seeing it, because my understanding of Islam, understanding of Islam is literalism. I do see that because I don't think.
I agree with you.
Because I don't think. Well, punchline.
Punchline. I like it. Punchline.
Because Islam would not have needed these later thinkers to tell you what the real Islam is. Prophet Muhammad, the one who knew everything about the religion and what he was told by God, he should have told us. He should not have said these silly things, which you probably don't believe in, the dates and poison, Allah's thrown underwater, all of these things. So he should have told us, not modern thinkers, not freaking Ibn Rushd or...
so can I... Okay. Yeah. So I think I want to move on to the next part, which is what the
next part we were going to talk about. Then you drag me back into scientific.
My friend. I just wanted to say now that I want to move on to, because what we are actually asking is, should the Islamic world embrace atheism? That's kind of the question. And so in your book, you talk about how nothing is good from religion, right? Because that's religion blocks science.
I use the word exclusively.
So you said, quote, I fail to see anything good comes from the baggage of religion. This is on page 54. Then you debunk the idea that religions defenders will say, they'll say that, but you say that there's no good from religion, right? So
in another place in my book, I actually specifically added the word exclusively. This is one of my very strong arguments. I think you probably missed that.
But the point is though, I want to share with you, not that you're going to agree with me, and that's not the purpose. The purpose is for you to see a rational argument and say, oh, I can see how you could come to that viewpoint. That's, I think, what I want to get to, not that we agree with each other.
Sure.
So when it comes to the benefits of religion, I feel that so not only does it not block religion, it actually encourages science, as it has done throughout history. But there are other benefits of religion which you have not appreciated, and I wanted to get into those. So religion itself, as a sociological phenomenon,
You made another point.
obviously,
You're going to a different point. You had left an loose end. You've left
what
the
was
loose
the
end
loose
in the
end?
previous
What
one.
was the loose end? What was the
The
loose
loose end that you said that pre-Wahhabism Islam was this, amazing. Muslims were.
It was
enlightened.
a diverse. It was no. I didn't say that. I said Islam was diverse and had great thinkers, and it had Ibn Taymiyyah as well.
What are the civilizational examples you can give me? What are the civilizational examples you can give me? Was slavery abolished there? Were women emancipated there? What happened? What exactly happened there? Democracy evolved there? Did democracy come there? What happened?
It is the religious enlightenment in the West which led to that, and then there were Islamic thinkers at the same time who argued that we need to abolish these things at the same time. So the Ottoman Empire banned slavery before America did. So why is that not considered?
What?
Yes, the Ottoman Empire banned slavery. Yes,
it was forced by. I have a book here by. I have a book. Okay, let me tell you. So this one I know. I have a book here by Bernard Lewis. You know Bernard Lewis. He's written like 6 books on the Islamic civilization. Do you know Bernard Lewis?
Of course I know Bernard Lewis.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm not insulting you. I'm just thinking that so you know.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it that way. But you do know that he turned pro-Zionist and went off the deep end on the right-wing side.
No,
you know that.
So no, but this book, What Went Wrong, is a very fair book that he wrote.
Oh, that book is not a fair book at all. But it's fine.
I did not see any hostility towards Islam or anything.
Okay. I mean.
Okay. So I'm not a historian. I'll leave that to you to critique that. And I'll take your word on good faith, okay? So he writes this part that how in the 18th century, what was the Sultan's name at that point? He forced them to stop the slave trade, and initially when they did it, and then the grand Imam of Hijaz issued a fatwa that the Ottomans are apostates, and this is our right to slavery is a God-given right, blah blah blah. And then when he issued a fatwa, he said Janissaries or something, and then there were some negotiations, and then he said, okay, you know what, you can keep the slavery going in Hijaz, but Ottomans actually did it under pressure from the British.
Okay, so now if I could respond to that. Okay, so anytime there's a sociological change, there are always internal pressures and external pressures. I am not denying that there were external pressures on the empire. That's a fact. However, what you need to acknowledge is that they were, and let me finish my entire point here before you jump in, okay? They were internal reformers who were arguing for the abolition of slavery, equal rights for non-Muslims, and full citizenship across the board. In fact, they were such genuine reformers that there was an entire movement called the Young Ottomans who said that the caliph was not going far enough, and that they called to liberalism. Liberal constitutionalism is what they call.
Is that in the 18th century, or is that in the 18th?
This is in the 18th, 19th century.
Okay,
I have to take the exact.
So it took 1,200 years to arrive at that.
Because my friend, because it was around the same time that it happened in the West. So the West was a little bit ahead.
So something else is the cause, not religion. Something else is the cause. Something else is at play.
Of course, I agree with you. Religious interpretations change with the change of environment, change in circumstances. I don't disagree with you here.
Okay,
but wait, hold on, my friend, wait, hold on. Slavery, abolition of slavery did not simply happen. This is a new atheist viewpoint that Sam Harris has, that ideas are all that matter. No, the reason why abolition took hold in the West, and the reason why it happened in Britain for the first time, in the first place, was because they were the first to industrialize. Industrialization is what connecting to abolition that allowed on the ground, and then these concerns allowed for abolitionist movement to take steam. So similarly, in the Islamic world, there were people who were internal reformers, who were liberal Muslims, as we would say, modernists. They argued these exact same things. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying I don't have this kind of view, because academic scholars, like scholars of religion, don't. we don't have the view that religion operates in a void or a
I'm happy
vacuum
with
by
that.
itself.
No, I
Religion
get it.
always interacts with its environment. There's not a
Okay,
coincidence that
yes.
American Muslims have more liberal, progressive views than people who live in Saudi Arabia, right? That's an obvious thing.
Yeah, because they're influenced by Western liberalism, right?
Because
so you
religion
acknowledge.
is always the interpretations change based on your
So
circumstances.
what's the point of that freaking religion then? Like, I mean,
Okay, so then
if you rely on,
that's
hang
where I
on.
want. Yeah.
So let me respond, and I'm okay with that. If you go into the nitty gritty, and you can, I'm sure, because you're academic, and you can probably list me examples of what were those activists at that time in the 18th century who were speaking for equal rights for the Jews and minorities, etc.
Absolutely.
My point still remains that for a perfect religion, it takes 1,200 years at that point, or 1,100 years, however long it was, for it to come up with this. Now, this is a pre-Wahhabi era that you're talking about. My argument still remains the same. That when you say that these other people were popping up here and there, and they were coming up with more enlightened version of Islam or interpretation of Islam, I'm still saying that, again, I'm coming at it from a consequentialist point of view, that when we look at how old is this New Age Enlightenment? A lot of people credit industrialization to that as well. 200 years. Within 200 years, we abolished slavery, civil rights, true democracies, rights for homosexuals, kinder to animals. Within 200 years, purely just tiny bit of tweaking, that is removing the influence of the church in politics.
I agree.
That did that. Now, when we look at the Muslim world, Ibn Rushd and Ibn Sina and all these Enlightenment, like what you're saying, that these guys are enlightened.
It's a huge list, by the way. I want to show you that list.
Sure. No. Again, I need
because you said they were fringe, but these were like
all the major thinkers. I need you. The reason why I'm calling fringe is that what impact did they have in the society they were living in?
A huge impact. They were
no. I'm comparing. They were the Jawad. I'm comparing that. This is why I just brought this 20th and 21st century Enlightenment, 19th and 20th century Enlightenment.
How can I share my screen? Because you shared your screen.
Yeah, sure. Just go present and share screen, and I'll show that.
I don't see where the share screen is.
At the bottom, there's.
Can you tell me, my friend?
Present there. Present.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you. I
appreciate it.
Yeah, present and then go
let's
share
see if
screen.
Let's see if I can do this correctly. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a little
I would. The reason why I'm calling fringe is because of the lack of impact they had on the society. Now you say, okay, in the 18th century they were working. Hang on. Let me finish my point.
But let me show you the screen, though, please.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is a huge list of thinkers, Islamic philosophers. All right, that were highly influential. So for you to say that,
why were they not successful in abolishing slavery, women emancipation, and democracy? Why were they not successful?
Because this was not the issue of the pre-modern period. No one had abolished slavery until the modern period.
Yeah, so because Western thinkers forced that by removing the influence of the church.
I agree with you on anti-clericalism.
So we needed to remove the influence of the mosque. That's what we're saying.
The religious establishment, the clerical religious establishment, which is different. We needed to remove that. Which is different. So do you not think that I'm against the mullah mentality and the mullahs? Yeah, I mean, I clearly I am. But
so in the 21st century.
What's that?
You're doing that now, though. I'm saying
Islamic modernists going down to the 19th century have been saying that. They've been writing against the mullahs.
That's fine, but you should support me then. Hang on a second. You should support me then.
Why?
Because I'm agreeing with you.
No, you say my entire religion, you essentialize, and you're reductionist and essentialist.
In your world, in your worldview, would it matter? In your liberal worldview, would it matter that someone like me
I believe in freedom
I say, you know what? I don't believe in his religion, but Jawad has a right to practice his religion.
So I believe in freedom of religion and freedom of belief, which includes a lack of belief. However, I do believe that atheism in general, just like you believe religion is harmful, I believe atheism is harmful.
That's fine.
And I do want to get into.
But can we coexist?
We must coexist.
That's fine. So you and I agree. No, hang on. But no. Jawad, you're still missing the point. This is why I keep bringing in the last 200 years in the West. I'm saying that, and when you compare that, even if I grant you that there was a huge list of Enlightenment scholars and activists and people who had interpreted Islam in a more benign manner, I am purely going into the result of it. the result of that has not been good. Democracies, liberal democracies, emerged in the West for a reason. Okay, now I'll leave that for you guys to work it out. What are the reasons? And
well,
you
one
can
of the
disagree.
reasons,
But the example is right before us. The proof is in the pudding.
Yes, but we suffered from long period of colonization in which our entire
in the 18th century? In the 18th century? What were you guys doing before 18th?
The world was colonized.
What were you doing before the 18th century?
So okay, let me ask you this. This is where, Harris, I'm very concerned where you convey this viewpoint, because this is where the bigotry comes in. Because it's not just the Islamic world, my friend. It's all of Africa. It's China. It's other than Japan. That's the only example. Everywhere else, South America, like, this is a civilizationally bigoted viewpoint. It's like white supremacist. This is why you ally yourself with Sam Harris and Douglas Murray. In your book, you talk glowingly about them. This is a very bigoted viewpoint. If,
I'm asking you a very simple question. What was happening? What was happening before the 18th century, before the Europeans came on the Islamic lands? What was happening before that?
So this is a huge.
Why did you not abolish slavery then? Why did you not evolve?
Because
Magna Carta was written in the 13th century.
Magna Carta, you're using it in an almost mythical sense, but I don't want to get sidetracked, so let's not get into that. But the point is, the West had divine right of kings. They had all of these things.
Yeah, they did. Right? They were dark ages. We call them dark ages for a reason.
No. Nobody.
I call them dark ages.
No historian of science uses that anymore.
Yeah, well, they do. But a lot of people do.
Lay people do, yes, but not scholars.
Okay. Do you want me to Google it and find examples of it?
No, my friend. Let's have a conversation. Okay?
So it's just irrelevant. You get caught up on that. But I'm saying divine right to King Henry VIII. He broke off with the church because he wanted to have another wife, and he invented a new Church of England. Yes, I mean, the dictators have always been around, monarchs have always been around, people seeking absolute power. And you can extend the same courtesy to khalifas as well, right? But khalifa is endorsed by Islam.
My friend, what you've been doing is, we've been talking about religion and science, and whenever you have to respond on religion and science, you shift to the issue of human rights. So can we at least acknowledge that on science, your viewpoint is a bit problematic if you look at the last thousands of years of history? Like when the fact that it's all of science.
I've told you that already. Do you want me to answer that for the 5th time? We know that people turn off religion. For example, people can very easily, a Muslim can say, this is allegorical, this is not sahih, therefore let me get into science.
Then do you agree that religion does not block science, at least?
Religion does, Muslims don't. Religion does, Muslims don't.
I mean, okay. So then I think
there's a hadith. Allah said, if anyone asks who created God, don't give him a philosophical answer. Just tell him, read this dua.
No,
this is a sahih hadith.
I think the hadith you're saying says, don't think about the creator, think about the creation, which itself.
No, that's not what it says.
Which points again to the idea of looking at the world around you in science. But in any case, can I give you why I think religion is important? Because you said that it's just myth, superstition, garbage, and nothing important.
This is the hadith I'm referring to. This is the hadith I'm referring to.
That's fine.
Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari, Satan comes to every one of you and says, who created this and that, till he questions who created your Lord. I mean, these people were asking these questions even back in those days. But, Dr. Jawad, you weren't there at that time. You would have said, this is allegorical. Prophet Muhammad, just tell him, some question. When he, or give him a contingency.
It wasn't me, my friend. It wasn't me, my friend. It was the Islamic theologians, and especially the Islamic philosophers.
But Prophet Muhammad didn't know the answer. The point is that
So according to historical critical, so here's where you get everything very wrong in your book. So can you stop sharing the screen though? Wait, my friend.
I go with the traditional understanding of Islam. Yeah.
Yes.
You can forgive me on that.
Okay.
You can forgive me.
Okay,
Jawad, but you can forgive me. Let's just understand the parameters. Let's just set the axioms.
I get what you're going to say. You're going to say that most Muslims believe in it, so you believe in it. So you think it's worthwhile. So let me show you why I could. Okay.
But that goes back to the scientific point. No,
hold on, my friend. Now let me respond to this. Okay, because this is a powerful argument, right? Your argument, in a nutshell, is that even if the hadith was not these hadiths are not historical, the fact is that most Muslims believe in it, and that's what you're dealing with. That's your argument, correct?
Yes.
Now, I know this strategy because back in my fundamentalist days, I was an anti-Shia bigot. And when I was an anti-Shia bigot, I know the technique that we used in order to get them. And you're doing the same technique. And I want to show you what that technique is. So let's take the age of Aisha, the marital age of Aisha. So you say first that what matters is what. So either you say what matters is what Muhammad said or did, the Muhammad of history. So Muhammad married Aisha at 9 years old. You specifically say on page 164, most Muslims do not know sex slavery was not only allowed, but also practiced by Muhammad and his closest friends. They do not know the Quran preaches flat earth theory and a geocentric view, unquote. This is page 164. So here you're appealing to the Muhammad of history because you're saying it doesn't matter what Muslims think, right? So now you're saying that you're grounding a claim in the Muhammad of history when it suits your purpose. Now, when I tell you, wait, hold on, let me just, wait, my friend.
Yeah, not steel manning.
Steel
manning.
My friend,
straw manning.
You'll be able to respond. So just let me finish.
Can I clarify? No, because you're going to build a whole building on a faulty foundation.
And then you can topple it down, my friend. So let me just finish, okay?
It's just wasting time. Aren't you interested in understanding what I actually mean?
No, because I don't want you jumping back and forth. I want to show you.
No, I'll address this specific point.
No. Hold on. I need to finish, okay? So
you're not interested.
If it suits you, then you say what matters is the Muhammad of history. When I tell you that actually historical critical scholarship disproves that Aisha was 9 years old, when I tell you that, and when I tell you that historical critical scholars actually say that the hadiths are very, very suspect and questionable to the point where they say that no hadith can be taken as actually going back to the Prophet Muhammad, and that the Quran. Islam. Wait, hold on. No, it's not, because you could still
destroyed
use
Islam. What are you left with?
Hold on. Because you could still use the hadith. There's been a long.
So when it suits you, you can use a good hadith and you can throw away the bad hadith.
You still have a methodology.
Yeah, because the methodology that you formulated to throw away the bad hadiths.
Hold on, we can get into that after this. Let me finish your methodology. So first, you make a claim of the Muhammad of history. When that's disproven, and I say no, historical critical scholarship shows that Aisha was not.
That's an opinion.
Hold on. No, it's not. It's the latest historical critical scholarship. Okay, so then when that's
years later, thank you.
But that's what historical critical scholars do.
Do
you think that when it comes to the Bible, we take what the Christian tradition says, or what we take, or do we take what historical?
That's why I say Christianity is just as pathetic as any other religion.
Okay, but hold on, let me finish now. So then you say, then when that doesn't work, then you say, well, what matters is what Muslims think Muhammad said or did, the Muhammad of faith. Except the problem, and then the example that you say is, well, Muslims think that Muhammad. Wait, hold on.
They're not mutually exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive.
Let me finish at least, please. So then you say Muslims think that Muhammad married Aisha when she was 9 years old. But the problem is that the Muhammad of faith is a construction by Muslims. Harris himself complains that Muslims know the story of trash being thrown on the Prophet, but not these other stories. So if you're just talking about the Muhammad of faith, then you should accept any social construction that Muslims do. So
okay, I can answer it.
Wait, hold on.
This is why you built a dodgy building. Yeah,
but let me
demolish it. Let me bring my bulldozer.
Hold on. You can use your bulldozer, but I need to finish. So then this is exactly what Joshua Little, who used to be a new atheist, he turned into an Islamic Studies scholar. This is what he writes about this. He says, quote, Islamophobes will assert, as indeed did I, that the Muslim acceptance of the authenticity of this hadith causes child marriage amongst Muslims, a grave social ill. Therefore, by criticizing Muslims for accepting this hadith, Islamophobes claim that they are somehow making the world a better place. Even conceptually, there is an obvious problem here. It is the Muslim interpretation of that hadith that is going to determine whether and how Muslims act thereon, not the hadith or the mere acceptance of it itself. The most frequent response by Muslims that I have encountered to this hadith by far is that Aisha was not a child in any meaningful sense, being pubescent or otherwise physically mature already at a young age. Indeed, to my surprise, this is not merely a modern concoction by Muslim apologists. The notion that Aisha was pubescent or physically developed is actually the more common interpretation of this hadith that I've encountered in classical scholarship. So the point is that what you end up doing is constructing theology for Muslims themselves. You say that Muslims must believe in X, Y, and Z and must take this particular interpretation, whatever suits your agenda, to make it the worst possible situation.
All right, got it.
And if you're going to say that we're going to stick to the hadith and the seerah, that's your third move that you could make. But the problem with that is that the hadith and the seerah literature, as Western historical critical scholars acknowledge, is full of contradictions, necessitating that the historian or the believer is selective in approaching them. For example, there are hadiths that indicate Aisha was a woman, even older. Others stress that she was a child. So clearly you have to make a decision which one you choose. What you do is you make sure to follow the worst possible interpretation.
Okay.
Say that Muslims must follow that.
Got your point.
No, fourth point, last point, is that even when there is no textual support, then you say Islam is still responsible. So when it comes to, for example, honor killing, then you say, well, it's not in the text, it's not there, but they're still responsible for it. So what you do is you construct the most uncharitable possible presentation and then say Muslims must follow that. And that is
proof is in the pudding.
But that is not a just way.
Let's just go with this. Let's just go with this.
This is not a just way.
I think this is a horrible. I think whatever good points you might have scored, but what you're going to listen and please mute yourself.
Please,
please mute yourself. I think that you've just shot yourself with a massive cannon. So your whole argument, and this is the problem with all modernists, is like, okay, here's a new interpretation. This is a new scholarly work, and we're going to tell you. So what you've done, basically, you have discredited the last 1,400 years of people, not scholars, because you can find these examples of lists of people that who might have had different opinions. And I'm sure because I went through the list,
I follow the Enlightenment. I'm sure I'm an Enlightenment. I use my reason. I question tradition. I question the church. Isn't that what you're calling for, though?
No. Because I say that's shifting the goalpost. So
this is what Thomas Jefferson grand design that you quoted in the beginning of your book.
I don't care. Screw him. Like I told you, the reason why we've quoted those people is because of the society we ended up with. When we follow Islam, the society we ended up with is in front of everyone. Okay, now let me finish my whole point and you'll understand that. So first of all, saying that what the historical Muhammad is, now you say, hang on a second, that's not the real historical Muhammad, although billion plus Muslims who have born and died in that religion.
Stuff about Jesus, that's not historically true.
No, screw Jesus as well. It's not about that.
This is the same concept.
These Muslims have lived and died according to their understanding. So what is historical Muhammad? You come and question it. There's other people who tell you that this is the historical Muhammad. This is what he told you how to behave, blah, 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 blah. And then that resulted in a society in which
that had the golden age.
In which people say, golden age people, go and have a look what how women were doing in that time. How what
in any society, in any pre-modern
yes,
society.
Exactly. But Islam failed.
So you're historically anachronistic.
Okay, let me finish my point. Please. This is why I said just mute yourself and let me present my whole argument.
But I'll let you talk.
Okay, no, because then I think you might feel like saying something, and then
you do the same, my friend. You do.
I did mute myself. I did mute myself. I did mute myself. I know.
Fine, because you did it, I will do it, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay. Because I saw that, there's this urge to just jump in. So religion, so Islam, perfect religion, failed to create a society until it was influenced by the West in the 20th or 21st century, that we could see some democratic principles in the West. Women are getting empowered. We're recognizing minority rights, dhimmi, which is encoded in Islam, all these kind of things. Okay, now I'm just zooming out a little bit because you're going in unnecessary specifics. And even the enlightened scholars that you listed, I'm sure if I just randomly picked their word, and if I really wasted my time and read what their opinion was on women or on homosexuals or on dhimmis, they might be better than the traditional sluffiest view, but it might not be as good, which would be acceptable to you or me. I can bet my life on that. Why? Because there's a principle at play here. The principle at play here is that we are a product of our time. What I am today, people in 100 or 150 years from today would be far more enlightened than both of you put together. They would be more concerned about animal welfare than you and I are, for example. So there's something else is at play. It's not Islam. So when you talk about Islam, I go back into, okay, so this is a perfect religion comes in. Nobody knows who this historical Muhammad is. Nobody understands. There's so many discrepancies on what the daraba means and what amputation of hands and feet of people who fight against Allah and His Messenger. What does that mean? Metaphorical? No, it's this and that. Blah blah blah. It resulted in a society that is in front of you. You pick up these golden little examples here and there. As good as they weren't as good as the current world. If they are not as good as the current world, then it means human mind is far better capable of creating better societies than totalitarian ideologies like Islam itself. That's the point.
Okay, thank you so much, Harris. That was very eloquent. I appreciate that. Do you mind? Now you're on mute, I hope. Okay, so the problem with a lot of new atheists, and I understand, and I almost sympathize because I understand. I think you're actually younger than me, and I myself know from my own life that Pakistan. We grew up when we were growing up. I mean, I didn't grow up in Pakistan, but I've visited back and forth. It was a move toward fundamentalism. This is especially after the 70s, the jihad in Afghanistan, which was supported by America and Saudi Arabia, caused this rightward shift. So I understand when new atheists and ex-Muslims only see religious fundamentalism as the way to view the religion. The reality is that throughout Islamic history, the Islamic philosophers, and to a lesser extent, but also there, the Islamic theologians, the mutakallimun, believed in reason as being essential to the religion. In fact, they found reason and religion go hand in hand. Some of them prioritized reason above revelation. Revelation was a grace from God and allowed you to hone in on certain things, and especially where your reason can't get to, for example, ideas of the next life, revelation, these kind of things. But really, they stressed reason. So I don't disagree with you that human reason is important and that needs to be resurrected. Unfortunately, we do live in a world right now where fundamentalism reigns supreme in the Islamic world. I don't disagree with this. Mostly this is because a minority group in Islamic history, the Hanbalis, have been resurrected as the Wahhabis, which was always a minority group in history. Wahhabism is a completely modern invention, petrodollars, and they have spread their ideology large and far. And they believe that reason is something bad. And so I did grow up with that viewpoint that reason is something bad. But Islamic philosophers and philosophical religion has always held reason to be something positive. And then I would say that here, I think your viewpoint is actually suffering from a problem because you say that there is no objective morality or objective moral values. And yet throughout your book, you talk about progress and that we are progressing. Like you said right now, that we are going to progress from 20 years from now, they're going to progress. But the problem is if you don't have the idea of objective moral values, it's very hard to say how you could justify the idea of progress. Because if you're postmodernist, you just think one damn thing happens after another. There's no reason or rhyme why things can't get worse. For example, in the 1940s, fascism was a big deal and Holocaust happened and all these bloody things happened. There's no real reason to say that we are progressing in this way, in a positive way. On the other hand, if you're a religious liberal, like I am, or a religious progressive, you do have a way to justify progress because we believe that we are headed towards objective moral values, that is, in the divine mind, and we are progressing as we go. So it is correct that religious dogmatists and fundamentalists believe in a regressive view of history in which all of religion and everything came fully packaged with Prophet Muhammad, and that's it, and that was perfect and nothing needs to be done. But that is not the view of religious progressives or liberals who believe that actually we take the ethical trajectory that Prophet Muhammad started and we continue to move towards the divine mind and what is good and known by universal reason. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there's no reason for you to put reason and religion at loggerheads, and history tells us otherwise. Yes, modern Islamic world is in a sorry state, but that's because of the contraction of our thoughts and due to colonialism and a very reactionary state of mind and an inferiority complex, which happens when you're colonized by the West. So that is why we need to embrace the idea that there is a third option here.
Okay, we're going over to our mark. I think we can push it to 2.5 hours.
I think we said 3 hours. So let's do the third hour because I did want to talk about in the last hour about the benefits of religion because we need to talk about that.
Okay, so as bad as Pakistan might be, it is still the best a Muslim society could be in the preceding 1400-year-old history. There's no slavery in Pakistan. Wife beating has been outlawed. Minorities are considered equal in the eyes of law, although there are imperfections there. There's no period in Islamic history where you can point to Islamic history, Islamic society that would be better than today's Pakistan. As bad as Pakistan. Oh, by the way, most importantly, we can choose our own leaders. Democracy. Yes, it's still flawed. It's proto-democracy. You could not choose your own Khalifa, by the way. So when you, I'm sorry to use this word, sorry for the lack of better term, when you hide behind this certain Enlightenment thinkers, and you say, well, they were progressive by the standards of the time, and I'm willing to give you that. Abraham Lincoln was progressive by the standard of his time, but today's time we would not even look at him. He would get cancelled the moment he utters first sentence. So when you hide behind that, it becomes irrelevant, because the central claim of a religion is, when we look at Islam now, this is my favorite Quranic verse that I bring up, and I say, what kind of a message it gives. Now I can see that I'm sure you would give me a whole host of reasons that why Quran chapter 5 verse 33 says that those who fight against Allah and his messenger and run about trying to spread disorder on the earth, which is, for example, me. You said that, no, it's okay, Harris, you and I can coexist even though you are an atheist. But no, but I'm actively speaking against Islam. Their punishment is no other than they shall be killed or be crucified.
It doesn't say.
Or their hands and legs.
It says those who fight against God. And
I'm fighting. I'm fighting against Islam. I am fighting against Islam.
So
or their hands and legs be cut off.
My friend, I have a whole
I
went on Myth Vision. And I talked for 3 hours on jihad.
You can talk about that again. So Jawad, you're not understanding my point. I am not challenging your idea of Islam. I am quoting. I'm bringing into the equation the preceding 1400 years of Islamic civilization, how that understing had been.
I understand. Beautiful.
And the society, let's just say I become a Muslim right now. No, Jawad, please, let me finish this point, because I think we are in the crux of it. The last 10 minutes are very crucial. We look at, even if I become a Muslim and I agree with your interpretation of Islam, that would still not negate the fact. I would have to admit that the preceding 1400 years of Islamic theologians, khalifas, and the result of Islam, they were all wrong about their understanding of Islam, minus the list of scholars that you quoted.
This is actually your friend Suhail brought this point up. So that's a great point. So can I respond to that now then? So Suhail brought up the point, and if I get it wrong, you let me know. He said that you have two options. Either you say that my viewpoint was the dominant viewpoint throughout Islamic history, or that God, or Allah, as he said, right, let us wander blindly in the past. Hey, where'd you go? Made us wander and be misguided, right? Did I get that right?
Sorry, can you say it again? I just lost my internet.
Oh, okay.
What did Suhail say?
Suhail said that you have to choose between two options. One, that my viewpoints on religion were the dominant viewpoint throughout history, which is clearly not the case in your viewpoint.
Yes.
Or number two, that Allah let us wander blindly and unguided and all this, right? So
yeah, that's a good argument. I didn't read his point, but I think that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah,
I tagged you in it. I wanted to give you a good.
I didn't want to read into it because I saw some sniggering comments. I didn't want to get involved in that.
Okay.
So that's why I wasn't reading that. This is why I said that I sensed some frustration on your side, which I really came in good faith.
Bro, I think anybody who's watching this will see frustration on your side too. So
yeah, I did get frustrated along the way. But initially, when you go childish 5-year-old book, I mean, I came in good faith.
I come in good faith too, my friend.
No, but that's not how you should start them. But anyway, let's go.
Let me answer this point then, okay? So this is a false binary. If you are a religious fundamentalist, which unfortunately new atheists are the flip side of fundamentalism, because they view fundamentalism as the only valid expression of religion. Wait, hold on. Let me finish. So for them, those are the only two options. But in reality, what I will say is that your view of history is extremely ahistorical and guilty of presentism. So you view and judge the entire Islamic history in a way that every civilization in history would fail. Every civilization in history had slavery. Every civilization in history had patriarchy and
they didn't have the one true religion, though. They didn't have the one true religion.
But with
the perfect moral code.
My friend, but you are now putting forward a fundamentalist viewpoint of religion. Wait, hold on. Let me finish.
Allah wanted. No, because you digress. You're equating your Islam. You're blaspheming. You're insulting Islam by you claiming that Christians didn't have it. Yes, because we know that this is an atheistic argument that you're making. This is an atheistic argument.
No, it is not. Okay.
Yes.
So no, it is not. It's an argument of religious liberals who say that it is not the case that all of everything comes prepackaged. In fact, the Quran itself doesn't say this. The Quran itself says that God revealed different. So in your book, I need to address this point, which is related to this. You're saying that how come God couldn't preserve his past revelations? He didn't know that they were going to be corrupted, and now he had to revamp it with Islam. But this is not what actually the Quran itself says. The Orthodox movement that came, like what became Orthodoxy is always in quotations, later would come up with this viewpoint. But what the Quran itself actually says is that God intended there to be diversity of religious viewpoints, and that he intended us to dispute and disagree, and that at the day of judgment, he is the one who will then decide. So what you need to do,
so I'm not going to burn in hell.
Hold on, my friend. As a believer, all you need to do is focus on
interpretation.
No, this is what the Quranic reading is.
No,
so is based on a historical critical reading of the Quran. This is not me who's raised this argument. These are non-Muslim Western scholars who have written that. Who have written that what the Quran is saying is to focus on the essentials, which is belief in God in the last days, so that there's accountability, and do righteous deeds. This is the core essence of the Quran, as said in Quran verse 262 and 569, that says that anyone who believes in God in the last day and does good deeds will have his reward in the next life. So this is the core essence of religion. And on other things, we're going to disagree, and it's okay. The Quran does not presume that this is one end-all, be-all, and there's never going to be differences of opinion.
It does say it's a perfect book. So it's a final book. It's a perfect book. Quran does say that. So Quran does make these claims. This is why it's contradiction. It's a contradictory book. What suited Prophet Muhammad, he authored something when it suited him, when it doesn't.
My friend, the word kitab is disputed about if it means even this book. Khalil Andani has written 800-page dissertation on it. I encourage you to read it. Okay? The point is, I mean, if you want to speak on religion and talk about religion, unfortunately, you have to read a lot of books. That's how it is.
I go to the original text. Okay, I go to the original text.
No historian says to go to the original source initially. First, you read the secondary scholarship in order that you get acquainted with the debates, and then you go to the actual source.
So the Muslims in the 7th or 8th century, Muslims who existed in 8th or 9th century, they were reading scholarly work before reading the Quran and the Hadith.
The historical critical scholarship now says that the views that are attributed to the
What about those Muslims who would have been misguided because of but that's a terrible way to look.
The Quran
did God establish that? Did God establish that methodology? Okay, this is the problem with you guys. Let me close this.
Let me close this so that I can respond to Suhail's argument with one closing. What I will say is that in Islamic history, my view, it's presentist to put in modern issues that didn't exist and superimpose them onto the past. Instead, what we can say is that my intellectual tradition has a robust presence in the medieval Islamic tradition. We're talking about the Islamic philosophers and the Islamic rationalists, as well as the more enlightened post-Ghazali thinkers such as Fakhruddin al-Razi. So this is a very robust theology that has a precedent in Islamic history.
We get it.
But to expect that we needed to abolish slavery, why don't we just talk about green gas emissions and child labor? We need to expect all of this to be.
Women's rights are very basic. These things okay, let me address this point. This is why it just doesn't fly with anyone. Like, you just don't need to write 800-page dissertations on what does kitab mean and what daraba means.
This is what
the proof is in the pudding. Well, that's this is why nobody takes theology seriously anymore, because it's such a dead argument.
It's not theology.
Nobody should take
scholarship.
Because but that's terrible. This is why it's not convincing. This is why you guys are losing the battle. More people are either they become more fundamentalists or they become atheists. They just leave religion altogether, because this middle way. Let me finish my point. I'll let you speak.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to give you the final word on this. I'm going to give you the final word. I'm not going to respond to it. And then we'll move into the benefits of religion. And then you can counter me on that. Is that fair enough? I'm giving you the final word on this point.
Okay.
All right, please.
Go.
No, I'm giving you the final word.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So
you get the final word, and then I'll talk about that topic.
Yeah, okay.
And then we can close off the debate.
So when we look at this 1400-year-old history, and I've made this argument blatantly obvious, and it's very clear, anyone would look into it, they'll be like, yes, if this was the perfect code of conduct, perfect book that was given, final message. Islam's one of the central messages of Islam is the Prophet Muhammad, the final message. This is it. I'm done with you people. I'm sending you the final message. That's it. To hell with you guys. If you still don't understand, I'm going to protect this book. No word's going to go here and there. This is the final message. It takes you 1400 years to come up with a society that is better for minorities, better for women, better for other human rights we can talk about, less torture, blah, blah, blah. It takes you 1400 years, okay? If you say that those people along the line, even though the dominant version of Islam was not the right version of Islam, it's hardly a comfort for those hundreds of millions of women and slaves who were beneath the heel of the Muslim overlords. Hardly a comfort for them. This is an insult to every single person who ever lived under the heel of Islam or Muslim, which was inspired by the Islamic doctrine. This to me now at the end, it seems like a terrible attempt to somehow let me defend my faith and let me hide behind these little scholars from certain point who were fringe, because as brilliant as they were,
intellectual tradition,
as brilliant as they were utter failures because they did not create an egalitarian society, and no other society did either. Every other society yes, that claims that we had a religion, like, oh, we've got a perfect religion. Hindus
religion,
actually,
it's not religion.
It is religion. I am trying to discredit Islam as a religion. And again, any other society makes that. Muslims can easily say, well, Christianity screwed up because that wasn't the real word of God. Hindus screwed up because that wasn't the real word. That wasn't the real message of God. But okay, well, you had the real message of God. What kind of freaking society did you end up creating?
So they created a relatively pluralistic and tolerant society compared jizya gave you status as a citizen, even if it was a second-class citizen. Yes, I agree with you. I'm being just and fair.
Hardly a perfect society.
My friend, who said it was going to be a perfect society?
It was supposed to be. If it's a perfect book, if the creator of this is communicating with us.
We believe that human beings are fallen. We believe human beings are sinful. We believe human beings are fallible. So
if the creator of the universe is giving us the pre-civilizational manual to, okay, well, I will give you...
This is a fundamentalist viewpoint that you're imposing upon
it is the only logical viewpoint. It is the only logical viewpoint. Because so if you make a final book, if you send a final book, no more, this is it, read this book and create a civilization, then what we create out of that is ISIS and Taliban. That is Islam. As bad as Pakistan is, it is the best country. If we look at the preceding 1400 years of Islamic civilization, it's the best country. Democracy, no wife beating, even multiple marriages are frowned upon. No sex slavery, equality of minority and everything. So Pakistan, as bad as it is, better than Islam.
On this point, like I said, I gave you the last word on that.
Fine, thank you.
Now what I want to say is, I have presented to you an alternative, which is that the Enlightenment had infusion of religion, and that there is this other option of philosophical religion, which has a 1,000+ year history, and then there's also liberal religion, which is a couple of 100-year history. These are options for Muslims as opposed to atheism. That will also lead to the core liberal values that you and I both value, such as freedom of belief, freedom of religion, individual rights, all of these things, including separation of powers, etc. So now the question before us is, which of these options is a better option? Is it atheism or is it religion? And so I argue that societies need religion, just like the Islamic philosophers believed that societies need religion for good functioning, for social virtues and community. Similarly, the founding fathers of America and all of those Enlightenment thinkers believed that religion was important for society to function. I believe that that is the case. And the reason why that is the case, I argue, is because religion provides certain things that atheism does not. And those things are essential for human flourishing. So what are those things that you need for human flourishing? Well, first of all, you need something other than nihilism. In your book, you acknowledge that the lack of religion does lead to nihilism. You quote Dawkins, say the universe does not owe humans any hope. And you say the universe was not created for us. We are not special. We are living on a tiny planet around an ordinary star in the outskirts of a galaxy, blah, blah, blah. Then you compare us to a zebra. A zebra feels terror, and we are no different than zebras. So why should we feel any comfort? We're a puny species living on a tiny planet in an insignificant part of an insignificant galaxy. This is what you write. Now, I understand that viewpoint. I'm not saying it's irrational. I'm not saying I can prove you wrong on this. But what I will say is that one of the benefits of religion is that it provides the solace for the human being and the soul that atheism does not provide. And this is the reason why study
I
after
did mention
study.
that later on as well.
Yeah, my friend, I'm not saying otherwise.
Yeah. So
What did
I
you
did lay
mention?
down the framework. I did lay down the framework that despite being an atheist, you can also go that way as well.
Yes, you
You
can go the
can
way
feel
of.
special. You can feel special. You can give yourself a purpose, and you can live a very happy, healthy life.
Correct.
I laid a
My friend, I'm
framework
not,
for that as well.
my friend. Well, I don't
No,
know if you
yeah,
did
but
it
I
in your
think
book,
people, I think
but
people would
maybe
have
I
thought
think
that.
later you did.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
don't deny that, though, my friend.
Okay.
I don't
No,
deny
but
that.
it makes people think that this is the only end game of atheism.
Oh, I'm not saying that, my friend. What
Okay.
I'm saying is that you can construct meaning, but you have to do it yourself. And what happens is that people who are not in good situations and who do not have that, so it's a nice thing for a liberal elite to say and do because they have meaningful, intact families and all this stuff. But when you're on the lower socioeconomic pole, I believe that it's actually religion that is an important force. And what I would say to that is that study after study has shown that religious people in general, compared to people who are atheist or non-religious or non-practicing, even religious people who are not practicing, religious people who are observant, who go to religious service and worship, study after study has shown that they have higher rates of happiness, they have higher rates of health, they even live longer. So for example, you say on page 35, you say atheists go through dark times as well and manage to pull themselves out of depression without finding this non-existent God, unquote. I don't disagree with you, Harris, but what I'm trying to tell you is that on average, religious people have this advantage. And these advantages that religion confers is one of the reasons why religion exists in the first place. Contrary to new atheists, religion is not a parasite, it's not a virus, it's not a byproduct. Rather, most evolutionary psychologists believe that it is an evolutionary advantage, which is why all successful societies have carried forward religion. And once a society moves away from religion, it starts declining and diminishing. And we're seeing that in the West with precipitously declining fertility rates, where they cannot even replenish their population, and they're worried that they sell more diapers for old people than they do for babies, which is a problem in society. So religion, it makes you happier, it makes you healthier. Not only that, it includes people who are more religious and practicing. Study after study has shown that they're more charitable. Here, I want to show you a blatant mistake that you make in your book. On page 17, you say the biggest philanthropist in the world is Bill Gates. He happens to be an atheist. The second biggest philanthropist is Warren Buffett, also happens to be an atheist. The only problem, Bill Gates is a Catholic. He goes to church. He writes, quote, "The moral systems of religion, I think, are super important. We've raised our kids in a religious way. They've gone to the Catholic church that Melinda goes to and I participate in." And then he says further, it makes sense to believe in God. This came out in 2014. You wrote your book in 2018. Melinda Gates, who's actually the one who started all of this charitable work, she says, "I'm living out my faith in action." Bill Gates himself has said that he did not engage in philanthropy because he said, "I'm just trying to run my company." But then his mother, who was very religious and raised him as Catholic, she wrote him a letter and had a biblical reference and said, "From those to whom much is given, much is expected." And that letter is what compelled him to engage in philanthropy and turned him into this more practicing religious person. Similarly, Buffett is not an atheist, but an agnostic. Not only that, he doesn't claim to be more towards atheism. He says, "I am a true agnostic, not closer to atheism or theism. I simply don't know." Now, the reason why I bring this up is because your book is riddled with uses of individuals, and you use them for your own foil, but you don't bother to do any research. All these Enlightenment figures, all of these founding fathers, all of these figures, even Ibn Rushd, you were saying doesn't believe in God, even though he wrote a proof of God.
I did not discuss Ibn Rushd in my book.
Not in your book, but in the dialogue that we have today.
I didn't claim. So those points.
Okay, but wait,
the argument
I just need 2 more minutes, and then I'll give it over to you. Okay. So religious people are not only happier, they're not only healthier according to studies, but religiously practicing people who go to church regularly and do worship services, they're also more civically engaged. They engage in clubs and community organizations, take part in civic and political life. They do more local voting. Study after study has shown this. In fact, we see that as societies turn towards irreligion
It's more irreligion than atheism, by the way, but irreligion does lead to atheism, of course. We lead to one of the biggest problems that we're facing today, which is social atomization. Society is people are becoming more and more lonely, to the point where people are saying there's a lonely epidemic. And this is worse in more secular or irreligious societies, where there are even households where there's just one single person living in those households in a majority of houses. We went from living in extended families with great social capital, suddenly we're going to this lonely existence. You have people who are more religious, are less depressed, less likely to commit suicide. So even though you said that, yes, atheists can get out of this, that's correct. But religion provides an evolutionary advantage. People who are more religious commit suicide much less. You said that this is only because, quote, suicides are systematically hidden from the official records, as they are considered a stigma and shameful for the family, massively underreported. You're talking about countries like Pakistan, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. However, these studies have been done in Western countries, in which there were controlled studies that have shown that religiously observant people are less likely to commit suicide. In fact, this scholarship goes all the way back to Emil Durkheim, and your book didn't show any familiarity with any of this. Then you mentioned Kazakhstan, and you said, quote, if belief in God alone was effective in preventing suicide, then Kazakhstan, which is a majority Muslim country, would have had a high suicide rate. This is on page 33. But the reality is that Kazakhstan can hardly be called a Muslim country. This is a quote from Digital Commons. This is the university, BYU.edu.
No true Scotsman at the end. Always a no true Scotsman with you
people. No, it's not a true Scotsman. It's the fact that atheism was implemented on a top-down. It was under communism. And so there are studies that show that it is not a religious society. So it's not a true Scotsman.
Okay, we got your point. We got your point. Let's just go.
Okay. It's the fact is that your counterpoint actually
50 points you've made.
It's actually, yeah, because I'm making the entire argument, then you can respond. So in fact, this source says one of the highest rates of atheism in the region is in Kazakhstan. So this point actually works against you. So not only that, but more religion means more family. More God means more family. There's a tight correlation between religion and intact and large families. Families are what form the core of a society. Loss of religion results in the breakdown of the family unit. More single-family homes, plummeting marriage and fertility rates, more divorces, more single parenthood. Secular societies have a record number of people living in one-person homes, as I told you, almost going to 50% in some societies.
Oh, wow, you've been listening to Daniel Hakikachu.
Okay, Daniel Hakikachu is. I'll give you all the time to respond, my friend. But let me just lay out the argument so then you can respond.
I've got to forget 50. There's so many problems with those arguments. Presented as slam dunk arguments.
Hold on, my friend. They're not slam dunk. You can respond. We're having an engaging dialogue, and I'll make sure that you feel that you've responded in full, but I just want to present it, and then people can decide for themselves. So Daniel Hakikachu, the problem with Daniel Hakikachu...
Forget about Hakikachu. Forget about... No, just finish your point.
No, my friend. I need to talk about that. Because...
I'm going to forget about it. Like, that's your divergence.
It's okay, my friend. My friend, I need to speak.
How's that okay? I'm going to forget about it. Then
please, my friend. Please, my friend. Okay, then let me talk about Daniel Hakikachu afterward then. Is that okay?
Yes, afterwards. Okay.
Because I want to explain.
Talk about him afterwards.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so talk about him. Talk about him afterwards.
More religion, more God means more marital success and less divorce. The highest rates of success if you meet your spouse is if you meet them in church. Lowest is if you meet them at a bar or online in a dating app, which is 6 times more likely to divorce. Cohabitation before marriage increases divorce by 33%. The highest rates of success for married people are as if they marry as virgins. Virgins are happiest in marriage. More sexual partners before marriage, more likely you are to be divorced. Regular church attendance actually reduces the rate of divorce rates, according to recent studies. Now, this is where I actually watched some of your engaging talks on the secular jihadists, where you talk about you and I guess his name is Armin. You talk about your sexual ethics, and you actually mention it in your book as well. In fact, you defend fornication or adultery in at least 3 times in your book. On page 30, you say, in Islam, homosexuality, female equality, and adultery can never be accepted. You say on page 45, what is so terrible about 2 people having sex in private? That you're talking about, I'm assuming, at least premarital sex, if not adultery. On page 70, you say, it is okay for me to have sex outside of wedlock, and it is also okay for my sister to have sex with whomever she likes, however she likes, whether married or not. In a video called A Defense of Polyamory, Armin Navabi, your co-host, defends polyamory as a solution and open marriage. you guys also justify bestiality and incest, although later you
No,
say,
I don't.
you walk this back and you say that you can't do it because of YouTube and you're engaging in what can be called taqiyya. Now, Harris, you respond.
It was a joke.
When Armin Navabi says that he can't understand what the harm is with 2 brothers and 2 sisters, Harris Sultan responds, quote, fair enough. I could care less about that, unquote. I have the YouTube link here.
Yeah,
The solution to the divorce problem, according to you guys, both of you, is open marriage, no stigma to the exit clause, and make it an expectation. This is a quote. Make it an expectation that marriage is going to be temporary. Harris says divorce is not a failure. If a couple stays on for the rest of their lives, that is a failure. So staying with a married person, that's a failure. We were not biologically designed for one person. And then Harris compares us to animals and says, no, we should not be monogamous. We should normalize divorce. This is what you said. And then you defend 2 men or 2 women as opposed to a mother and a father. You defend cohabitation, and you talk about how, and this is the most interesting point, is what Armin talks about how we went from the extended family to the nuclear family, and now we should move to the chosen family. And that, I think, is the end point of extreme liberal individualism and libertinism, where you are this kind of person out in space with no attachments, and you're born in this way without attachments to anyone. This is a convenient viewpoint for a liberal, elite, young man who's handsome, who's tall, who is an actor. This is an excellent viewpoint for you to have because it allows you to smash as many women as you want and take as little responsibility for that. And so this viewpoint, however, is harmful to the rest of society, especially to women, because they have a biology which is different than the young, virile man that you are. So there are harms of divorce that cannot be denied. That leads to fatherless boys are more aggressive. They are more likely to be incarcerated. Girls without father figures are more likely to lose their virginity and have unstable relationships. They have higher mental health, psychiatric disease, suicide attempts, substance abuse, health burdens, including risk of premature death. And they also don't. I'm almost done. They also move to new marriage partners very quickly. And then you have the problem of stepfathers and boyfriends who move into the family home, and then that is where the highest rates of abuse go on children, as well as murders and homicides. So religion, on the other hand, creates intact family homes, especially when it's monogamy that is stressed, which is what I stress as an Islamic modernist, is monogamy. I don't have to defend what Daniel Hakikachu does, which is medievalism. I'm not saying we go back to the medieval period. I'm saying that the religious ethic that I embody as a Muslim, as a practicing Muslim, is more favorable to women than the sexual ethic that you and your co-host embody, which is perfect for F-boys, but not for rest of society. Finally, more religion leads to less criminality, less delinquent behavior. Rehab, when you have alcoholism, is more effective when it's intertwined with religion. And finally, once I'll let you speak and I'll give you your fair time, I do want to show how inaccurate you are when you talk about, there's a video where you talk about Van Jones and you talk about Muslims in prison. I want to show you how bad your research is, but I'm going to let you finish. So religion is highly beneficial to society, and you should at least acknowledge that, even if you're not convinced. Okay. Well, we could go on. You said in our agreement that we could go on further.
Yeah, but
you said that we could go on further.
We could, but no, not more than that. I have to play cricket. I have to go cricket training.
Well, you can do another half an hour. I'm here.
Okay,
it's up to you.
Okay, listen. Yeah, well, no, we can do another one as well. I think we should do this in Urdu as well, because I think Urdu. Are you proficient in Urdu?
No, I can speak it, but I speak it with a terrible accent. You would smash me in that. But go ahead.
No, I wouldn't. Well, I'm smashing you in this as well.
we'll let the audience decide.
I'm joking. I'm just saying you can smash me. Like, it's not about the accent; it's about the argument. Okay, you've said so many things.
But I'm more eloquent in English.
Fair enough. If I forget certain points that you made
sure.
So many points.
I basically said that there are all these benefits of religion in society.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. First of all, that's good. Benefits are not incumbent upon the veracity of any other claim. People are saying that marijuana gives you this and this, but if it makes you feel better, etc., doesn't necessarily mean whether it's good for you or not. That's a separate domain altogether. So first of all, even if I was to accept your claim that religious societies tend to do better, live healthier and longer and blah, 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 happier, etc. And I know the happy part is there are some studies that actually say that. But there's so many other counterpoints on that as well, which is that societies up until now have been religious. So people who become irreligious initially, they also have the stigma in that. But then you go into the Western world and you say, okay, well, Western world. But then there are other arguments on that. There's materialism. There is this, this desire to get indulged in worldly gains and all that. So, and then you can make an argument that the quality of life is higher in non-religious societies. And what's this? There was a famous study done in Bhutan. I think turned out to be number one after even above Norway. And they're very simple-minded people, and they're basic religious people, but they're happy. They're unhappy. They're very basic communities. So that's something that is up to you to decide whether you're going to accept religion and lower your quality of life. And then when the quality of life goes up, then people also tend to become irreligious. There's studies on that too. As quality of life goes up, people tend to become less religious. And as you said, less religious leads to atheism eventually at some point. And I agree with that. So first of all, regardless of this, it's got nothing to do with the fact. By the way, there's a YouTube clip of Bill Gates as well. He does say that he respects religions for the values or whatever, but he says he doesn't believe in any God. I actually put up this little reference as well. Again,
it doesn't. But my argument doesn't matter on that. I'm
actually I know that. No, but
religious practice. Religious practice is what matters.
Gates describes himself as an agnostic atheist. He lacks belief. And hang on, I listen to a lot of things. You can write them down, and maybe you could talk about whether that's not. So the point that I was making, it was actually debunking the argument that philanthropy is only done by religious people. That's a religious claim that they make. In the same book, I actually acknowledged the fact that yes, you can be religious and you can do philanthropy. As we know, Red Cross and a lot of these things are actually religious. This is why I use the term, nothing good comes out of religion exclusively, meaning you can do all these amazing things without religion as well. I'm not saying that you do bad things with religion only. You do good things as well, but that's not exclusive. I'm not going to let you hijack the word philanthropy. And another moral point that I make in the book is that if you're doing good for the sake of winning, a nice little palace in heaven, then I'm uneasy with the fact that this is good. Okay, I mean, when we see a hungry person or something, a lot of atheists do charity as well, and hence I brought up these people because these guys are one of the biggest philanthropists as well. Fair enough, they're not they might not fall in the typical example of atheists, but they are more or less they're atheists. If they believe in something, they're more or less atheists. They don't believe in any organized religion. They're not doing this to go to heaven, right? So you can't hijack these people. They are more leaning towards my side than your side because you have a very strict set of beliefs. So that's the claim I'm making. And again, now going back to suicides, Kazakhstan, that's a classic note to Scotsman that you said that, well, okay, well, the Kazakhstan is an atheist country. So are you going to just say that, okay, well, atheist? So by the way,
I didn't say that it's an atheist country, my friend.
You said the more atheism.
Low religiosity in Kazakhstan and severe restrictions historically on religion.
When we look into the West, a lot of these suicides also happen because of a whole host of things. Like bullying is a big thing now in the West as well. So you're going to blame atheism or you're going to blame bullying?
I'm not blaming atheism. I'm not blaming atheism, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm saying that religion benefits society in certain concrete ways.
Yes, that's fine.
And that's why we shouldn't simply abandon it.
We have Muslims who commit suicides as well. So again, fair enough. I'm willing to give you, like, if we are going to look into the studies, I don't think that I'm actually unaware of that, but you might be right in that. I'm willing to grant you on that. But again, that doesn't destroy my original point. Whether that be the case, if we all become depressed, manic depressed, and we all want to kill ourselves, but we can stop that by saying that there is a fairy tale that you can believe in, that still does not make that fairy tale into a reality. It does not do that. So I am more interested in that. So what I do, or people like me say, you know what? It's not all that doom and gloom. I'm a very happy person. I really am. Like I sleep like for 7 hours or something. Ghode bech ke sona, like I've got no worry in the world. Sleep like a baby. I don't know why they say that, sleep like a baby. Baby wakes up every 2 minutes, but you get the point. So you can give yourself a purpose. You can set certain goals in your life, and you can find out a way. And we get it. The modern life brings a lot of pressures along with it. So I acknowledge that. But that still does not make religion, let's just accept religion, because it might stop me from from a phase of depression that might get it. Okay, so that's point number one. There was another point you made.
There's another point now. Okay, go ahead. Fine.
No, you did make another point. Come on, you spoke for like 15 minutes. What was the other point? So one baggage of religion. You said that. Okay, so I've answered that.
I think you've answered. You basically have acknowledged that there are these possible benefits, but that atheism doesn't necessitate that, and there are plenty of atheists who don't suffer from those problems. Is that
that would be anecdotal. That would be. I'm not presenting that as an evidence.
And also, you've said that it doesn't speak to the truth value.
Oh,
I think
family system. Family system. There we go. That was your other point. Family system. Yeah. Right. Okay. And we say fertility rate falling down, and this is why I brought up Daniel Kikuchi, and you can talk about that. Fertility rates are dropping across the Muslim Arab world as well immediately when they got money. Women are not empowered, and the still fertility rates are dropping. Why? Because it's got to do with economic independence, or even people focusing on quality rather than quantity. And there are many studies done where the urge to make babies hasn't gone, but the urge to have less babies. There's an Australian study that I actually shared on Secular Jihadist a couple of weeks ago, or not a Secular Jihadist, maybe, in one of the Twitter spaces I did. So the urge to make babies. So a lot more women are just are wanting to have just one child as opposed to two. Those who say ideal is 3 actually end up having only 2. And only 7% of women say that we don't want to have any babies. So this is barely, I think, across history, the number between 1 to 10% would have been variable. So that desire, because motherhood is biology and we are driven by instinct, so people do have that. Okay. Now we talk about, so family system is falling again. You don't have to blame atheism. You have to believe, you could blame.
I blame irreligion.
No, not even irreligion. No, you can bring in economic factors in that. There's a strong economic factor.
I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with economic factors.
So Islam is but you would agree that Islam doesn't discourage you from being economically prosperous.
What is your point, though?
Islam doesn't discourage you from being economically prosperous.
But I'm never putting forth binaries where religion does something single-handedly outside of context and environment.
Jawad, but I'm arguing that
maybe I misunderstood your argument. So please go.
Yeah, but I'm arguing that you have other factors to blame, because we have Muslim societies like these Arab countries that are very traditionally Muslim, right. But they have very strong zina laws. They have very strong, and again, the other point that you made about monogamy you cannot outlaw something that has been codified in the Quran and that's been encouraged by the example of the Prophet. You cannot discourage it. Islam encourages polygamy, and there's strong reasons behind that. There was to say, like in the words of Zakir, well, what do you want these because women are hypergamous. They look upwards. So they would rather look upwards. A rich man who has 2 wives already, they should rather go for that than go for a poor guy at the bottom. So I've heard Muslims make that argument as well, and then there's some truth in that hypergamy. So you cannot discourage the family system that you're talking about, and the sexual conservatism that you're talking about, that you're coming at me like, people like me, like modern men who take advantage of women and blah, blah, blah. I would be taking more advantage. I would be far better off in a Sharia-infested Islamic caliphate where I would have had at least 4 wives on cycle, and I could have had a whole host of concubines if I could afford it. So
sure. So you're defending. So this is where you're forcing me to defend medieval
traditional Islam.
But
that's the Quran.
So wait, hold on. No. It's not the case. The Quran actually bans. It makes you marry your slave girls. This is a wrong interpretation.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. But we can debate that afterward. You and I can debate that afterward. But the point is, though, that you are making me, this is the binary viewpoints that I disagree with. And this is the new atheist, why they're the flip side of religious fundamentalists. You think that there's only one option for religion, which is medievalism. But even in a country like Pakistan, polygamy, which is legally allowed, is extremely rare. In my
because
circles,
of Indian influence. Because of the
no,
Indian
no,
influence.
no.
Yeah.
Please let me speak, okay?
Because of the Indian
So-
influence. Do you deny that?
No,
Because of the Hindu
do.
influence.
I do deny that.
So
because
so
throughout
why?
the Islamic world, please, I need to speak now, okay? So throughout the Islamic world, polygamy is more rare than monogamy, okay? It is discouraged by reformist and traditionalist scholars, okay? So you cannot tell me that that is something
You know why
that I
that is?
cannot claim.
No, but you know why that is?
Please,
It's a
let
very
me
simple argument. No,
Because-
because you made a very flawed argument. That's because there are
because-
not enough women. Richer men
No,
in Arab
that-
countries
please,
always
can I-
have polygamous relationships.
Yes, so that
But
is
richer
not-
men in Pakistan don't tend to have polygamy. They don't practice polygamy because it is looked
because
down
it's a-
upon.
Okay.
In the Arab
So I'm
world,
not-
it is not
but you're
looked down
making me-
upon.
So you're forcing me to defend a view that I don't have, and then claiming that that is what religion is. Whereas practically,
Yeah, but Islam
speaking,
is that.
No, hold on.
It is encouraged. You're saying discouraged?
but-
It's encouraged.
No, hold on. So I grew up very religious. In my 20s, I was actually very
Pakistan.
conservative. I was very
Pakistan.
conservative. Well, I was born and raised in America.
No,
I
but
was
your
still
parents are Pakistani.
Yes. So listen to me, please. Let me finish.
The Indian
Now you're
culture.
interrupting. I let you speak, and you just been like cutting me off. Okay. So, in my religiosity is what I'm actually calling to, not your imagined worst case uncharitable viewpoint. So when we're comparing my sexual ethic with your sexual ethic, I think my sexual ethic comes on top. Why? Because I didn't engage in premarital sex. Why? Because I'm less likely, at least by the studies, to commit adultery. More religious people are less likely to commit adultery. You actually defended, or at
Religious
least
or Islamic?
armored-
Christian or Islamic Muslim? Because there's a huge
What?
difference.
No, there's not. Studies have been done across the board and show that religious people are less likely to commit adultery.
Yeah, but Islam allows second wife. So if you have an urge to commit adultery,
But
you can just go get a second wife.
But what I'm trying to
Does
tell
it say
you is that
monogamous?
what I
Does
am
the study say
trying to
monogamous? I'm just
What
trying
I-
to be accurate with your study that you're just throwing in, which I haven't looked at. But I'm saying
So-
Islam actually legalizes cheating by allowing you to have the second and third and fourth wife.
So even if you talk about polygamy, the difference between polygamy and what polyamory, so let me finish this point now. Polygamy and polyamory and open marriages is what you are positing is far worse than polygamy, because polygamy means that if you have sexual intercourse with a woman, you have to do it in marriage and you have to financially support her. And most importantly, you are responsible for raising the children that come from that marriage and that intercourse. Whereas when you have open marriages, that is not the case. And that leads to broken families. Now, you said, Armin said that, oh, well, this would
We're not
only be
encouraging slavery. We're not encouraging cheating. I
I'm
don't know
not-
where you're going with this.
You're encouraging open marriages. You're encouraging.
No, I'm not. I am not.
Yeah.
Armin was talking about it. I actually don't. I've actually on record said numerous times that I'm actually monogamous at any given point. That you should be. Yes, you can
But you
have
said that people
relationships.
should not. You said that people should not have monogamous marriages throughout their life. Whereas I am arguing.
No,
that we
that's
should
not what I
have
said. No,
monogamous-
you misunderstood.
I have your quote. I have your
Yeah,
quote. You
yeah,
said it's a
wait.
failure. You said
What's
it's a
the-
failure.
What's the quote?
said-
Read the quote. Read the whole
Okay.
quote.
Okay, I'll get you the quote, my friend. You said it's a failure of. Let me see. I'm pulling it up. But the point is, you
Read the
cannot.
quote.
Okay, I'm looking for it, my friend. All right. You said, quote, "Divorce is not a failure. If a
Yes.
couple stays on for the rest of their lives, then that is a failure. We were not biologically designed for one person." Unquote.
Yes. That
So-
does. Where does it say that you need to be cheating and having multiple sexual partners at any given point?
I didn't say that. So I'm
That's
saying
what
that
you said.
No, I'm saying
Okay.
that I am arguing for lifelong monogamy with the partner that you have and you
I don't
have
think
kids
so.
with. The
Yeah,
reason
people
why
are
not?
unhappy.
Why not?
People are
Because
unhappy.
no, but it's
People
not
are unhappy.
just.
I'm yet to see. I'm not going to put you in the microscope, but I'm yet to see. And we all
Studies
have the
show-
beautiful
Studies show that people
Studies show
who are
people are unhappy.
monogamous, who are virgins when they get married and stay committed to their spouses, are more happy than people who have multiple sexual partners and then who get divorced. In fact, 33 to a half of people who get divorced regret that they had divorce. So divorce is something that should be allowed, I believe, in cases of abuse and severe neglect and these kind of things. Definitely, I agree with that. But the society should emphasize monogamy, and religion is essential for that. That's a religious ethic. And so when you talk about that this will be okay because we normalize divorce.
No, because we have no. But
wait. Do you think that divorce? But do you think divorce is not harmful to children?
Well, yeah, it is. It's
But
the core family. No, the core family is most beneficial. But the second close is joint custody. There are numerous studies done.
So now I agree with you. I agree with you. But that's second.
Single parent. Yeah, but it's all. Yeah, but the cost. Okay, so instead of being miserable with each other, it's better to divorce and look after the kids in a joint capacity. Be a good father, be a good mother, and have a joint.
Look,
there is no study. All the studies that you refer to, and I actually said the study that was done on all the studies that were done on this topic. When we talk about children of divorced parents have like health issues, they're being aggressive and all. When you look into it, it's one parent is actually absent.
Correct.
So that's the problem.
Okay.
So you can be in it. No, but let me finish my point because people understand, because it's a very misunderstanding point. Mm-hmm. So if you can get divorced and you can have joint custody, share your parents' responsibilities, and you're not going to have these bad health, aggressive kids, and blah blah blah. It's still, and again, there's more study needs to be done on that.
Okay, great. So now what I would say to that is the one parent that's usually missing is the father. The reason is that the reason why religious ethic evolved so that it prioritized and encouraged monogamy is because that is the ethic that is best for rearing children. That is why, because whenever a child is born, then there's always a mother there. Biologically, there's always a mother. The question is whether there will be a father there who will then raise the kid. And the way to ensure that, the way society uses to ensure that that's the case, is to prohibit the man from having sexual intercourse outside of marriage, and to say that he must stay married to the person that he has a child with.
We can do that without religion.
But hold on, my friend. Of course we can do that with religion. But the point is about
without religion.
Yes,
we can.
I know that we can do that without religion. That's my point. I'm not disagreeing with you. You could do all of these things without. I get that. But what I'm trying to show you is that there is an advantage on a societal level. And what happens is in those studies that you were talking about, that was only looking at those fathers who did not then get married and get a girlfriend and have different kids. The reason why kids get depressed and go through these things is not just because of stigma, as Armin and you have said, but rather it is because the father figure becomes missing. His attention and his resources, his time and his finances.
This is a Christian argument. It doesn't work for you. Your religion allows multiple wives.
My religion discourages polygamy on one very strong reading. Okay, so that's the one that I'm encouraging. Okay, and this is the modern ethic that most Muslims, practically speaking, polygamy is unheard of. In my situation, I was not a modernist growing up, but I could not be allowed to get a second wife. If I mentioned a second wife to my wife, she would laugh. Okay, so this is, now you just say, oh, that's just Hinduism. No, this is modern,
Christian ethics.
And modern. So everything that's good, you relate to outside of Islam.
Yeah, it is, but it is bad. You relate. Islam is so bad because it allows. Okay, let me answer this. Let me answer this eloquently.
I'm almost done.
Made the point.
No, I'm almost done. So the fact is that the reason why you need a religious sexual ethic is to ensure that the father figure is there full-time with his family. And if he goes in an open marriage, as you have said, then he's distracted. His financial resources.
I am not open marriage. I am not for open marriage.
You have said it yourself that you said that you don't think that
that's Armin. Armin is into polyamory.
You said, but why not? Because
it's not an issue for me. It's not my battle to fight.
No, your liberal ideology, your libertine ideology does not allow you to disallow
that. Whatever ideology, I'll take any ideology over Islamic ideology, and I'll tell you why. I'll take any ideology over Islamic ideology. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So come on, let's make the point. Let me make my point.
You said that
Brother
you can't even deny Javad. You have said that you can't even disallow a sister and a sister to be in a relationship, or a brother and a brother.
I have other arguments on that. I have other arguments.
You said that
it's
by
a totally
law,
different argument.
Okay. All right.
I have a
But
totally
anyways,
different argument on that.
go
And
ahead.
there's a whole
Go ahead.
debate on incest, or why, through my
The
line of reasoning.
The Quran itself, by the way, discourages the polygamy. It's only the Hadith, which is again questionable about whether
Quran
or
doesn't
not we take
discourage.
that.
No,
Yes, it does.
Quran doesn't.
It absolutely does. And we
Zagros,
know
can someone find me, Zagros? I think maybe you might be.
it
Can you
literally
find me
says,
this?
it
those
literally
Quranic...
says if you cannot treat them equally and you will not be able to treat them, then only one. Okay, so that is the verse. Okay?
So how can it? Yeah, so it means you are allowed.
I didn't deny that it's not allowed, but I'm telling you that in the religious ethic of the modern period, it's not something that's encouraged.
Screw modernity.
Okay.
That 1,400 million, hundreds of millions of women have to live under that hanging sword.
This is the binary that you produce, which is I have to defend
because it makes
medievalism versus your
Islam.
Enlightenment, which was a religious phenomenon to begin with. That it reformed religion, and you're saying that I can't go that same path because of all the figures that you have raised.
Because it makes sense. It seems to me that you're making excuses.
It makes sense to a fundamentalist and
because you're making excuses. Okay,
it makes sense to a fundamentalist and a new atheist. That's who it makes sense to.
Okay, let me answer that. It doesn't matter what you say. We also have Sahih Hadith narrations where Prophet Muhammad himself wasn't doing justice to his wives, because you can never do justice. So Quran just dangling that little carrot.
I didn't say that it was disallowed. I said that it is discouraged. Okay?
It's not discouraged. It's not even discouraged.
Modern
but it's not discouraged.
Can ban it. It's up to them. And Reformed traditionalists have said that.
That's
so
like saying.
Modernists who say it.
That's like saying, as long as you don't leave a mark on her face, you can plant one across the face.
So I have a whole video on the fact that verse does not mean that. But
I'm not even talking about that. I'm not even talking about. Come on, man. Let me.
You want to push religious people into a box.
Let me push it first. You're
not even letting me push all of history.
You're not even letting me push anything.
All the science that was done under the Islamic umbrella, throw that all out the garbage.
Jawad,
when I call you on that, you say, "What about?"
I'm getting tired now.
No society. But why don't you do your? Now. Yeah, go ahead. I'm tired too, my friend. Now. Yeah, it hurts when you're getting smashed. I mean, it hurts.
Thank you. I'm sure that a lot of atheists are going to convert to Islam today.
I don't need anyone to convert, my friend. What I need people to realize.
If you win, that's what I need
people. No, what I need people to realize is that you don't have to live in a binary. I don't need you to tell me how I behave.
You just start shouting, and you're not letting me finish my point.
You say racist and bigoted things. You have said that you side with far-right European bigots who say that we should limit migration to Europe. That's the stuff that you encourage.
Values matter.
Yeah. So you do this racist.
If someone no, that's not racist. That's not bigoted. That's like we judge people.
And then you wonder why people think you're a sellout and a bigot. Like
nobody wonders. I don't wonder. Nobody people respect me.
You literally called your country Pakistan as barbaric, and you're using white man's burden. But you're not a white man. You believe in white. So do you believe in white man's burden?
No, it's got nothing to do with white or black.
I know. It's coconut man's burden, right? Coconut man's burden.
How Pakistani minorities are treated, it is barbaric by today's standards. Not by Islamic standards. By Islamic standards, it's a beautiful country. By Islamic standards, it's way better.
Strange.
But let me finish my point.
Harris, it's strange that they're atheists of other religions, such as Hindus and Jews, who can leave their religion and do so decently. They don't have to then join far-right bigots and xenophobes.
I'm not far-right bigot.
I
haven't joined with any far-right bigot.
You side with them on my. But you believe. Yeah,
Robert Spencer, I've had a fight with him.
But you believe in their theory of mass migration of brown hordes of Muslims who are overcoming Europe.
Those who believe in child marriages. Those who believe in child marriages.
You back that narrative. You back that narrative. Yeah. See, you're defending it right now.
There's a next caveat in that. Those people who have barbaric values, including according to you, those are barbaric values. Child marriages.
I don't use white man's burden language because
it's not about white man's language.
I'm somebody who's studied history. I'm an academic.
Islam is,
So what about? Are you going to
child marriage? Is that a barbaric practice or not? Child marriage is a barbaric practice or not?
So is Africa barbaric?
Child marriage is barbaric practice or not?
Is Africa barbaric?
And any country, yeah. Well, see, this is where white man is worried to talk about this. I would say, do you want to hear? Do you want to hear a soundbite? Here's a soundbite.
Tell me
any civilization
other than white people,
any society, whether that's the American Bible Belt, any society that practices or endorses child marriage, in my view, is barbaric. That's it. It's very simple. There you go. That's the soundbite. You're going to put that in Nigeria. How is it racist? Black people, blah blah blah.
Well,
it's barbaric, and those people should not come to civilized countries. Here's another soundbite.
You know how
civilized countries should not allow those people in.
Hey, Mr. White Man, you know how bad you are at statistics and research? You literally criticized Van Jones for talking about the rate of criminality, and then you looked into statistics about how many Muslims there are in prisons in America without realizing that 90% of them are converts to Islam in jail, Black people. So you accidentally made a racist and bigoted argument because racism is very close to the bigoted arguments that you make. They're all about stigmatizing
this is how
brown
stupid you
and
are.
Black people.
The argument is not
I'm
about
not
race.
stupid,
The
my
argument
friends.
you
I am
are stupid.
an academic. No,
you're
I'm the
very
one.
stupid.
I'm the one who has multiple degrees and
Very
reads
stupid.
books. You
very,
don't read
very
books.
Stupid.
You haven't read.
I've got
you don't read any books.
I've got quite a few books.
Which books? Which academic books have you read recently?
Okay, just listen to this point. Well, you didn't even
you
know four
quote
points of
Dawkins.
you didn't even know four cosmological arguments. You didn't even know four cosmological arguments.
I do know them.
That's basic, entry-level basic argument.
No,
okay.
I don't want to.
Okay,
I don't
Javad,
want
you
to
win.
play this catch me if you can. I don't want to.
Okay, you
I don't
win.
want
You
to
win.
misspeak.
Let me finish the point.
I speak very precisely. So I speak when I'm an expert.
People will see that. Let me finish my point about polygamy. Okay, you win. You're better than me. Everything. That's fine. Okay. Let me finish the point. Islam. Oh, well, good. You need to read the Quran a bit more rather than trying to reinterpret it. You need to read classical explanation and interpretation of that. No, you haven't. Islam allows when you use argument of family system.
I'm a Quranic studies scholar. You are nothing. You don't even read Arabic. You don't know anything. And I'm not saying that you need to read Arabic to raise arguments. Right. I'm not saying that argument. But what I am saying is that I'm making an argument that you just said that I need to read the Quran. I'm a Quranic studies scholar.
Yeah, you need to do it again. You need to do a better job at it.
You're a person who reads Dawkins and then uses arguments that
pretty good. It's a much better book than the Quran.
Nobody takes Dawkins seriously in the academy.
He caused an atheistic revolution that you call new atheist.
Amongst lay people.
Every scenario we look at, atheism is on the rise. Everywhere we look at, right?
Who denies that? Did I deny that, my friend?
So you win. Go convince your fellow academics about how beautiful Islam is. Islam discourages polygamy. No, it doesn't. Allah allowed polygamy. Hindus.
You're talking about cosmological argument. You say that Anselm has a cosmological argument. He does not. So, you just. He does. No, he does not.
And Anselm's an ontological argument, and Aquinas has cosmological argument. What's wrong with that?
You said it the other way around, but anyway.
But
anyways, I don't actually think that's a big deal.
Anselm's ontological argument. Yeah, so it is not a big deal because you're trying to because you've been you want to throw your credentials at me.
No,
by a guy with only one degree, undergrad degree in IT, and you feel like, oh, hang on, you're being like, how can this guy so stupid just answering all these questions?
Even your atheistic philosophers laugh at Dawkins.
No, very few of them, but it doesn't matter.
There are good atheistic philosophers, but new atheists unfortunately drop the ball.
Okay, listen. Okay, let them laugh. I don't care. I'm a consequentialist. I look at the effects of any Dawkins. With the list of
so please don't use terms.
The list of all the enlightened scholars of the Muslim world that you quote that you showed, they were all failures, and Dawkins managed to do a lot more in the 10 or 20-year career of his, which
Dawkins did nothing.
Dawkins did all of that. Dawkins did that. Bertrand Russell laid the foundation. Dawkins just exploded. Anyway,
don't compare Russell to Dawkins, please.
Okay, fine. I don't look. You don't have to worship. I don't care. Okay, I don't care about that. I'm going back to the polygamous point that you made.
These Islamic philosophers created an Islamic civilization that thrived in science and advanced science.
Bullshit.
And this is what the modern scientific revolution.
Slavery.
Read something, read.
Wife beating. Bullshit.
Read in the name
slavery.
of your Lord. Read,
if they had abolished slavery, emancipated women, I would have said, okay, they haven't done it.
You moved the goalposts. You're talking about science. Now you haven't done human rights.
They haven't done it. They did not invent human rights because they had a chip on the shoulder, and that was the Quran. Cutting off hands and feet, stoning adulterers.
Quran is what encourages
stoning
them to
adulterers.
Study science.
Okay, I think this is going nowhere now. I think you
all right.
just
why don't
totally
you why don't you bring your closing arguments and I'll bring my closing.
My closing argument. I'm just going to say it, which is you didn't let me finish about the polygamy point.
You can continue. Go ahead.
But stop interrupting. You just go into you've got that many degrees or whatever.
You also interrupted. I mean,
okay.
You've said plenty of things, my friend.
Okay, all right. Hindus and Christians are in a much better position to make an argument built around lifelong monogamy, not Islam. Islam allows multiple wives. Islam allows sex slavery. Islam has no leg to stand on. When you say that there are cultures where polygamy is not, monogamy is more.
Everything good is outside. Everything bad is
me.
inside. Yeah. Everything good is outside, and everything bad is inside. This is your methodology, Harris. This is called a polemical perspective. I mean, this is not a neutral way of doing it.
Prove it wrong, but this is true.
The Quran. So sometimes you insist on following the Quran. Sometimes you insist on following the Quran. The Quran itself discourages polygamy and says that you need to marry your slaves.
It endorses it. It endorses it. And sex slavery is a whole new topic. Fine, you Malikat Yanim means something else in your word.
That's fine. I didn't say that.
But Hindus and Muslims,
yeah, go ahead.
Hindus and Christians have far better case against lifelong monogamy than you guys.
I know you like the support of Hindutva and the Christian right wing. I know you need to flatter them, but I mean, let's try not being a sellout so bad. Okay, it's pretty.
You don't know anything about my work. You don't know anything about my work.
I do.
No, you don't. Actually, you don't.
I read your book 3 times.
Book was 5 years old. I've done a lot more. My activism was a lot more after that.
I know you've said stuff against Hindutva, but at the same time, you pander to people who follow you.
No, I don't.
From that ideology.
No. That's just like, now you call polemic. Now that's just ad hominem. You're just like, you got nothing to argue.
Fine.
I can appreciate. Again, I don't even care about.
If you think it's ad hominem, fine. I withdraw it. Go ahead. Continue with your argument.
As if you didn't know that.
Well, sometimes we're fallible human beings, my friend.
Right.
So when you start, saying,
you're a good Muslim. Islam should have created a very good human out of you. Like, there's so much more that you just get in. You get like you really don't behave like an academic. Like, I've argued with PhD philosophers. I was spoken with them, but you just get in
talking about behavior when you are.
I'm not an academic. I'm an activist. Yeah, I do use certain language. You're an academic.
No. It's not about
you
your
need
language.
To create. You need to create some certain type.
You think it's the language that bothers me? No, it's the fact that you pander to these kind of extreme right-wing bigoted xenophobes. That is what bothers me.
No, I don't want child rapists. I don't want child rapists in my country.
Now you're calling all Muslims child rapists?
No, I didn't say that. You're so stupid. You don't even understand the simple point. I'm saying those people who believe in that.
Right?
Yeah, you are being stupid because you're not even steelmanning the position. What is my position on immigration? What is my position? It's just steelmanning. What is my position? Where does it? How do you include all Muslims in that? Is that what you are?
I didn't.
You just deliberately strawman and lie.
I didn't lie.
You just said all Muslims. You said rephrased me. You said all Muslims.
No, I did not say that. I said that I did not say that you claimed that. Okay, this was a rhetorical question that I asked. I know that you have excluded people like yourself, conveniently, or people who are leaning in your direction, like I've excluded you as well. I am a religious, practicing, believing Muslim. Why would you include me?
You don't believe in the 9-year-old marrying 9-year-old girls. You don't believe in that. I'm all for you.
So don't most Reformed traditionalists don't believe in that either.
That's fine then. So I'm not against them.
So you think that a majority of Muslims favor that kind of thing and come to Europe?
No, I'm saying those who say that. This is what I'm saying. You don't even understand my position.
So then, why are you defending these right-wing people?
I'm not defending them. I'm giving my own point of view in that. This is why I'm saying you are a freaking. That's a terrible kind of an academic. Like, what kind of? You don't even understand my position. I have said categorically numerous times.
You defended.
I corrected Sam Harris. I corrected Sam Harris in the same book. I corrected Sam Harris that when he quoted the Pew survey. I don't know exactly what page. I corrected, and even when he appeared on Secular Jihadist, Amin Nawabi asked him the same question. That when people like Sam Harris quote that 85% of Muslims believe in Sharia to be implemented, and that then he infers from that automatically means that they want stoning of adulterers, throwing homosexuals off rooftop, blah, blah. I said, that's not true. Because when you ask an ordinary Muslim that, hey, do you favor Sharia? They think that it's a virtuous thing to say yes. And therefore they say, no, hang on a second. Let me finish my point, because you've accused me of being a bigot when you don't even freaking understand my position.
I have your quote, and I'll show you your bigoted quote. I'll show your bigoted quote right here, and then you can defend it. You said, quote, this is on page 190. you cannot ignore the risk of Muslim migration into the West without some costs. A huge number of Islamists or even jihadis have entered Europe under the guise of refugees, unquote. And then you say,
Syrian migration, I'm talking about.
in this video, you say that if you were white, Islam would have moved you to become a white nationalist. This is where you show your true colors, that you are a coconut, that you would become a white nationalist. I have the video right here. Is the video entitled
hang on.
Is
So
Why
the white nationalist one, can you quote that again? Because I don't understand. That's not in line with my thinking. I don't understand that. Can you quote that again?
You said this in a video. Is this why Muhammad Hijab thinks West is a failed society? In this video, you indicated that if you were white, Islam would have moved you in a direction to become a white nationalist. That is what you said.
Yes.
And then, at the same
what was
time,
the point? Oh my goodness! This is how.
In the same book,
I'm going to have to wrap this up very quickly, but you are misquoting. The whole title is about, I am saying if Muhammad Hijab's version of Islam is to be believed, then any white person listening to it would become a white nationalist. I am defending you lot here. Like, did someone do this homework for you, or you actually watched these videos?
Well, who did your homework when you were doing all of this research with these bad points?
I did my own.
Well, a terrible
job. You did not do your own. I think someone is sending. This is so stupid of you, Jawad. I think I just caught you out red-handed with your pants down. I am saying that if you go with hijab, if you had actually watched the video, you would have known what I'm actually talking about.
It's possible that you were implying that. I don't know.
Because somebody sent you a quote.
No, nobody sent any quote. I watched your videos myself. Okay, I'm the one who read your book 3 times, and I watched your video. It's possible that I'm a decent person. So if that's not what you meant, fine. But on the other hand,
now go back to another. Thank you.
No, but you do defend the right-wing European nationalists and say they got a point. This is what you said.
That's not what I say. Okay. What I say, that's not what I say. I say this, and I've said it so many times before. I, being an immigrant, when I was a Muslim myself, I can never close that door on any young Muslim man or a woman. I can never close that door. I've said that numerous times. Hang on a second. I have said that numerous times. What I do say is that
you called Linda Sarsour an ISIS and Taliban supporter. You said, let me see exactly what you said. You called Linda Sarsour, who has defended gay LGBT rights. You have called her that her
views were not that clear at that point. Her views were not that clear.
But you don't think that's Islamophobic? You don't think that's Islamophobic?
No.
Admit that if you call Linda Sarsour. Okay, so any Muslim, you just immediately assume that they support Taliban and ISIS?
No, not any Muslim. I'd never assumed that about you, Mufti Abu Laid.
You said Linda Sarsour.
No, I can't exactly remember. I must have quoted something as well. I must have quoted. I must have read the foundation. I can't remember.
I have the quote. I'll find it for you.
Let me find it on my book. I'm sure there's a context to that as well.
I'm sure. Let's see. If
I haven't followed her work recently.
No, but you were enough that you said that. So that's an interesting thing.
Because
no problem with
it's 5-year-old. It's a 5-year-old video, a book, and as I said,
but you don't mind smearing somebody and saying that about
no. I would have had a good reason to say it. I would write down an apology if I am proven wrong. I am more than happy to do that.
Page 186. You said, if given the opportunity, they would take over the non-Muslim world in a heartbeat. They are generally sympathetic towards ISIS and the Taliban, and you're talking about Linda Sarsour along with Hizb ut-Tahrir, as if those are two people to combine.
So
you don't think that's Islamophobic?
So I'm talking about Islamists. No. So what did I say? So I said, this is what I said. So these are the 4 concentric circles of what type of Muslims we have. We have jihadis, and the second one is Islamists. So Islamists, I'm saying, and you conveniently leave out the definition of Islamists.
You said
these are. I'm reading it. It's in front of me.
You put Linda Sarsour and Islamists and said common examples are Linda Sarsour and Hizb ut-Tahrir. If given the opportunity, they would take over the non-Muslim world in a heartbeat. They are generally sympathetic towards ISIS and the Taliban. Do you regret saying that about Linda Sarsour?
No.
Do you not see that that's Islamophobic?
No, it's not. Let me explain that to you. You asked me a question. Thank goodness I found this.
Robert Spencer.
No. It's not. So, what is the definition of Islamists according to me, or how I have defined it? Islamists are the ones. Islamists are the ones.
The ones who are dancing in LGBTQ rallies, right?
No. Islamists are the ones who strive for Sharia through peaceful means. They don't believe in violence. Those are jihadists. Islamists are the ones who hold Sharia supreme as the law of the land, and they say, okay, you know what? We're going to bring it. Hizb ut-Tahrir's mission statement is this: that we're going to bring Islamic.
I have no problem with you saying anything about Hizb ut-Tahrir. I have no problem with you saying about Linda Sarsour.
Okay. So with Linda Sarsour has on record said that Sharia is the best form of government.
Exactly.
And
No,
Sharia should be there. So
what
she's
she
an
said-
Islamist.
No, what she said was she redefined Sharia in a way consistent with reformist Muslims
I don't trust her.
who say
I don't trust
Sharia.
her.
Yeah, why? Because you're Islamophobic.
No, I don't trust her.
Right?
No,
because you
anyone
think it's taqiyya. You think it's taqiyya, right? Is it taqiyya?
Anyone who says that Sharia is the best legal system, jurisprudence for any given society, I don't trust it, because when you look at Sharia, amputation, stoning of adulterers, homosexuals, that's why this is not. This is not a problem, and this is very different from Robert Spencer. This is very different from Robert Spencer. I've just destroyed your accusations, and you have no kids. One of them you were kind enough to actually admit your out of context position.
No, you should be kind enough to say that, okay, you were wrong about her and you shouldn't have said that. That's what you should have said, because Linda Sarsour has an understanding of Sharia that is different than what the Islamists have. She has a view of Sharia that many Reformed traditionalists have, which is the idea that Sharia is just the moral code of conduct and the divine law. In fact, we can't even know it. It's in God's mind. It's a divine law. And this has a precedent in Islamic history itself, where the word was used in that way.
Here's my concession. Here's my concession. I'll look it up. If she does not endorse the Sharia points that I find abhorrent, you've got hudud punishment and the civilization.
You don't think you know enough from the fact that she backs LGBTQ rights? You don't think you have
That's a much later position, though. That's a much later position, though.
She's been consistent on this.
No, that's a much later position.
There's a debate with her with Yasser Qadhi on this.
Yeah, that happened when? 2 years ago? That's a much later position.
Let's see.
Her views have...
Let's see, actually. Let's see.
Yeah, look
2015. 2015. When was your book written, sir?
With Yasser Qadhi?
Yeah, with Yasser Qadhi. 2015. When was your book written, sir?
With Mehdi Hassan?
Yes. I have the link right here.
No way. Really?
I'm so sorry, my friend.
Okay, well, I'm wrong now. I stand corrected.
Okay, so can you admit that this is a little bit Islamophobic of you?
No, it's not Islamophobic. It's not Islamophobic.
So you see a Muslim woman in a hijab, you think that she uses the word Sharia, and now you draw from that she would support ISIS and the Taliban. And now you're claiming that, that was way before even ISIS existed, right? Now you're claiming that, now all of a sudden she's supporting that, right?
No, but how is that Islamophobic?
Because you didn't know about the debate
how's that Islamophobic
in 2015. Of course,
no, but how is that Islamophobic? How is that Islamophobic?
Because it's exactly what the right wing does, which casts all. So here's Islamophobia.
You are so nothing that I say. Nothing that I have ever said, nothing. You know what? You guys can reinvent your Islam and you come up with new definition. I'm not going to take your Islamophobia definition because I can reinterpret Islam, and I can read
religion, which goes back even before Islam.
Yeah, nobody. They were all failures. Dawkins in his 20 years has achieved a lot more than your enlightened scholars of Islam in the entire 400-year history.
Why? If the rubric is just the lay person who has no knowledge of philosophy of religion, no reading of anything.
Most people don't have knowledge.
Yeah, so
most people don't have.
So then what's wrong with the people?
Yeah, well, shame on you. Shame on you that you can't even reach out to normal people. Shame on you. That's your failure. You can't even reach out to normal people. This is how pathetic you guys are, that you just okay, we're going to write this dissertation from the 800 pages and we're going to expect the world change. This is why
you have to
scholars who are scholars who can reach out to the masses, and they also need activists, and those people are far more successful than you guys, that you could not achieve something. I'm not denying abolitionist. You could not abolish slavery. You could not emancipate women. You could not do anything for the non-minorities.
The people who abolished do anything. Slavery were mostly religious. The people who established human rights did so on religious terms.
Stupid argument again. Yeah, we can be inspired by religion, but your religion,
they grounded
not
religion.
Okay, we're going in circles. Let's wrap this up.
Let's wrap this up. You can do your.
Let's wrap this up. You keep going back to the individual beliefs of people, and then when people say that
I gave you the whole sweep of history. The whole
you didn't. You still could not prove a single point. What I said, it is irrelevant what people believe, because they can turn off their religious mind. They can apply that in science. They can apply that on human rights, and then they can turn off the religious mind. It's irrelevant what's your. In fact, this is much more important. It goes in my favor that people can switch off. They have to switch off their religious mind in order to work on science and in order to work on human rights.
By the way,
that's how bad religions are.
2014 tweet by Linda Sarsour. Taliban murders innocent children in Pakistan, and U.S. government drones innocent children in Pakistan. Be outraged always.
Okay, that's fine.
She supports Taliban and the ISIS, right? According to you.
No, I said the result of Islamists is Sharia. So Sharia, you're not
2013. Opposition to gay marriage today is same as opposition to interracial marriage 50 years ago. Majority folks will get over it. You didn't bother to do any research on the person that you're calling ISIS and Taliban?
No, she's still an Islamist. She is an Islamist. It's not.
This shows your weakness of your viewpoint. Nothing you say has.
You're not even understanding the point, man. If you're getting charged up, you're getting charged. No, you're an idiot. Okay, you're a freaking idiot. Don't stop calling me that. You're an absolute idiot. You are an absolute idiot for even using loaded terms. You're getting triggered by ISIS. ISIS itself falls in the jihadi category. The category of Islamist, Linda Sarsour is an Islamist because an Islamist wants to achieve Sharia. Okay, she has a different definition of Sharia. But she wants Sharia.
So according to you, most Muslims, if they believe in Sharia at all, are Islamists.
No, but they're active. No, but most Muslims are not actively working. They're not activists. Linda Sarsour is an activist.
Do you know what she defines Sharia as?
No, I don't care. That's irrelevant.
You don't care. Because she's not going to ISIS and Taliban. This is the level of your research. Bigotry, ignorance.
Do you want Sharia in America?
This is what you do.
Do you want Sharia in America?
Sharia is defined differently.
Do you want Sharia in America? Yes or no?
I have my own. You're answering.
Whichever definition of Sharia you have, do you want Sharia?
You need to know that. So
no, that's not my point. This is how stupid you are. You're not even understanding the point. I'm saying
I need to answer that because
whatever Sharia, whatever version of Sharia you believe in.
You've asked me an Islamophobic question, so I need to answer now. Okay, so my answer is this: I consider Sharia to be a historical, man-made construct. It's equivalent to fiqh. It was the human interpretation trying to understand divine laws.
Do you want it in America?
Can I answer? Based on this definition.
This is what you guys do.
Can you let me talk? I know you can't read and you don't have a reading comprehension, but let me finish. So based on this interpretation, no, I do not want Sharia because I consider it a historical human.
But she does. There you go. You're such an idiot. Because she does.
You are the simple-minded idiot. You are the simple-minded idiot.
She does. Yeah, because it's such a simple point. It's such a simple point.
Yeah, because you can't.
She does
because you don't want me to tell
you.
She does. She
wants Sharia.
Other people consider Sharia to be the divine law.
Yeah, but she does. So she's an Islamist. She's an Islamist.
So you've just called. Yeah. So this is the bigotry that you engage in.
You're an idiot.
You don't even want to learn. You don't even want to learn.
Islamic. No, watch this. Go back, listen to the whole thing again, and watch how your arguments have been destroyed. In Islamist, according to me, this is a simple, basic, fucking Socratic approach.
You are a new.
All right, you're an idiot. Okay, we're done. We're done. I think we're done. You don't understand. Islamist means someone who aspires to create a Sharia society. You're a freaking idiot. You fall in the lower category than that because you're not actively seeking out Islamist.
I do want.
Why are you stopping?
I do. I'm not stopping. I'm saying.
I'm saying something.
Why don't you?
Okay, you're incapable of having a conversation. That was a mistake. Thank you very much. Let's just end this. Thank you. Have the last word.
Harris, don't run away.
Let's wrap it up. No, because it's 3.5 hours. It's just stupid. You're so stupid. I actually thought you were an academic. I thought you are a freaking academic. You don't even understand the definition of jihadi Islamist. You're quoting me and you can't even freaking read what's written right in front of you. An Islamist is someone. An Islamist is someone. And you are an absolute idiot, my friend. You should be ashamed of using the word academic for yourself because this is how stupid you are. You can't even understand the other man's point of view. You misquote people, and then when you lose, you call people bigots. You're a freaking idiot. Yeah. Now I'm done with you because you have turned out to be an absolute idiot, and this turned into a shit show. Absolute shit show. I've made my argument. You just have your last word. Just for the sake of decency, I'm going to let you finish.
My friends, you said things, I said things. Let's finish on a high note. Okay?
Your students are going to look at it and they're going to be embarrassed of you.
My
Your
students
students are going to come running to me and they're going to say, Harris, they're going to send me an email, Harris Sultan. You know what? My professor did a horrible job. You made very good point on Islamism, on Sharia, because you're so stupid. You kept interrupting me. You wrote down essays. You read those essays, and I listened to those freaking essays. And whatever I remembered, I just answered those questions.
Because
this is after preparation. A professor at Harvard comes like this.
I read and I prepare.
And you speak a lot of bullshit.
So Harris, you and I both have said stuff. It's time to finish on a high note. Okay, you've said stuff. I've said stuff. Let's end on a decent terms. Okay, so let's
wrap it up. Hurry up. I got to go somewhere. Just wrap it up.
Make your closing statement.
No, I've made my closing statement.
Okay,
wrap it up.
So I will make my closing statement now. So what I have shown today is the fact that Harris's and New Atheists' conception of Islam is the flip side of religious fundamentalists. They have a monolithic and reductionist view of what Islam is and what it could be, which is ironic given that they use as part of their founding narrative myth. That is what it is. New Atheists have myths. So the first myth that New Atheists have is the myth of the secular atheistic enlightenment. So we find that is a complete myth and bogus. The Enlightenment had a religious thread throughout it, and it's not antagonistic to religion and certainly not atheistic. And so this is completely imaginary. Similarly, there was the myth of deism, which Harris didn't even know that there's a whole thing called classical theism, which has a long tradition even before Islam and through Islam. And that was the dominant Islamic philosophical viewpoint through history. Then the second myth that Harris and New Atheists use is called the myth of the conflict between science and religion. No credible historian of religion accepts this myth. It is a bogus myth. Even the guy who has History for Atheists, who's an atheist himself, it's a YouTube channel, he debunks this. Okay, so please, if you're viewing this, please go watch his channel. Then there's the myth of human rights, which Harris doesn't realize. Yes, it came out of Enlightenment, and it was rooted in religious ideology, the idea that God is the one who creates human beings. And this religious ideology, by the way, didn't differentiate between believers in the sense of confessional, like if I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim. They believed that all major religions taught the same fundamental truths. They believed in multiple virtuous religions, as Farabi did, as Ibn Sina did, as Ibn Rushd did. So you don't have to be this confessional bigot and fundamentalist as you claim. Finally, there is the myth of religious violence, which we didn't get into, but that is something that I talked about in length on my debate with Robert Spencer, which, contrary to what Harris said, people who watched that, including my students, said I did a fantastic job. Finally, there was the myth of religion as a mind parasite or a virus. This is the New Atheist idea that Harris says, where he says that there's absolutely no benefits to religion. I have just shown that there are extensive benefits to religion. This does not mean that an atheist cannot do any of these things. It simply shows that there's a benefit and an evolutionary advantage to them, which is the fact that religion makes you happier, it makes you healthier, less prone to suicide, less prone to depression, less prone to alcohol and substance abuse, more likely to get married, stay with intact families, raise your kids, and lead to society that actually flourishes from a societal standpoint in which you're not socially atomized. You actually engage with your neighbors, you engage with your community, you engage with your church, your mosque. And this is a society that is something that's positive as long as we abandon religious fundamentalism and medievalism, which I am equally opposed to. Thank you.
Okay, I think I do need to say this because obviously I'm a lot calmer now because you keep interrupting. So all these arguments that Jawad made, all of them have been answered, refuted, but he's not going to see it. He quoted the foreword from my book, went from enlightenment, atheism. I don't even understand what the argument he made. I'm looking at it from a consequentialist point of view.
Your book. I went from the start to the end.
What the hell? Come on. I listened to your word. My ears are literally bleeding after hearing your nonsense. And
my eyes were bleeding after I read your book. But go ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, very good. You need to really stop interrupting people. Like I just lost my chain of thoughts now.
Go ahead, Harris. I'll put myself on mute. Go ahead. Have the last
Thank you. So I'm looking at it from the consequentialist point of view. We quoted these people. These people individually don't matter because at any given point in history, they believed in something, like, for example, the stupid quote that if you, by Bacon, that you understand science, you half understand science, and you become atheist, you fully understand science. I mean, that guy did not know anything. An elementary school kid would know more science than him. And no, it's irrelevant. So these people's individual beliefs don't matter. What the argument, the forward by Ali Rizvi, that basically pointing out to the fact that enlightenment led to a liberal democracy, and now liberal democracy, we have a higher quality, better quality of life, we have rise of irreligion, atheism, and it seems like a more a default position to fall back into religion. Then he goes into some parts of Islam, talks about, again, these arguments that are very hakikatu infused, and again, I could not answer that because he keeps butting in. Economic factors are responsible for falling birth rates. Second argument that a lot of people make is that the world that we're headed towards, we're not going to have enough jobs due to AI. So who says that we need to have 3 or 4 kids or whatever? Or this is a very mad capitalistic argument that the economy, that the population needs to keep rising, so your economy keeps growing. As a result, inflation is also stays at 1.1% or whatever. That's the healthy inflation. That is a very capitalistic point. As we go towards universal basic income, we would not be able to support large welfare societies on universal basic income. A lot of futurist people have spoken about it. They've said that, okay, there's a movie adaptation of that as well, Wall-E, where we have more leisure time and our work is being done by AI, by robots. And those are, the cost of production of resources would be a lot less because there would be no human element, no wages involved. We'll have to reinvent the whole of economics. So when he talks about, brings in this silly argument of, oh, the family system has collapsed and the fertility rates are dropping, it's not even an issue. It doesn't even matter. You can't even foresee. Again, why that is because these people have one thing to fall back onto, and that is religion, go back to. And then at the same time, the main problem with Dr. Hashmi is that he has remodeled, reinterpreted his whole religion, and then he has one little, in the whole slide, there were like 14 names of some scholars who might have enlightened views by the standards at the time. But I guarantee you, I don't know these people, I haven't read these people. I guarantee you, if you went deep into the studies, I challenge you guys, I haven't even read it, but this is how I know these people. You go into it, look at his views on women, look at his views on slavery, depending on which century he belonged to, you'll find out. You'll find out that those people had abhorrent views, even though Dr. Jawad wants to tell us that, oh, these guys were enlightened. Islam is a very totalitarian ideology. It's very backward. It's anti-human. It's anti-women, and it's anti-democracy. As a result, it's no surprise that throughout the 1400-year-old history of Islam, you see, you can't produce a single egalitarian society where human rights are supreme. You can't produce any society. As bad as Pakistan is, and I talk most of my work, obviously I'm a 21st century man. Christopher Hitchens famously said that if he was in 1930s, he would have been speaking more against Nazism at that time. I'm born in this century. I am speaking about Muslim countries, the majorly held view, and unfortunately, people like Dr. Hashmi are upset because nobody takes them seriously. Nobody took them seriously in the 1400-year-old history of Islam. They did not care about what they want. Mutazilites were the ones reason over revelation. Look what happened to them. They were takfir. They were not supposed to be Muslims. Now, even in this day and age, and I presented that olive branch, that I have nothing against you or even what you're trying to achieve by liberalizing the Muslim world, even if you have a different view of Sharia, I'm okay with that as long as it does not come in my way of egalitarian, liberal democracies where human rights are supreme. I don't care with you. I don't care what your private views are. I have no interest in that. I have moved on from this business of telling you that, oh, Islam is one true religion. God does it. I find it extremely boring. Most of my work is now my commentary on social issues in the Muslim world, and that is coming out as an atheist. I am the most, I would say I'm the biggest face of atheism in the Pakistani sphere. I talk about that as an atheist. I don't go like liberal Pakistani closeted atheists who say, no, Allah, alhamdulillah, I am a Muslim, but I think women should not be beaten. There should be more rights for women. I'm not like that. I say, okay, you know what? Fine, if you are that. I am an atheist, and this is what I think about this issue, minorities issue, blah, blah, homosexual issue, LGBT. That's what I talk about. And that's what I'm more interested in. You want to liberalize Muslim world, go for it. But again, unfortunately, I think the main frustration is nobody took you seriously in the 1400-year scholarship, and nobody takes you seriously now. Either the fundamentalist Muslims or the mainstream Muslim, not fundamentalist. Mainstream Muslims don't take you seriously, and atheists and ex-Muslims don't take you seriously. Thank you very much. Let's wrap this up.
Thank you. I'm going to stick to my word, and I'm not going to say anything further on the content. I did want to thank you for having this engaging discussion. I think we had good moments, we had bad moments. I do say that I'm not perfect. My innate nature, to be honest, is maybe it's perhaps the fundamentalism and dogmatism that I grew up on, and perhaps both of us. Maybe you didn't grow up like that, but
religion was not a thing in my household. I was not forced.
Maybe in our culture, we need to inculcate being able to chat with each other in more decent ways. And I'm a flawed person. My own innate nature, unfortunately, is to street fight, and I try not to, and I try to live up to like Javed Ahmed Ghamidi, who's like got the prophetic character in my mind, but I can never live up to that. But I do want to say, when I overstepped, there are things that I said that I shouldn't have said, and I do regret that, and I apologize for that. And I do want to also praise you on the fact that you not only engage in debate all the time and openly, you're not like, you could have avoided this. And I mean, Daniel Hakikatu refuses to debate me. He's too scared to debate me. And you are like, you guys, you engage in a way that I think this is fruitful. I messed up, you messed up a little bit, I think too, when we were like insulting each other, but we'll get past that. And if you are in the area ever, where I live, let's hang out outside of the internet and social media, because that's sometimes the best way to actually get to know people. We don't actually move people's minds this way, unfortunately. And the last thing I wanted to say is, if you wanted to, because I did want to just stress that I do really, really believe in God. And that is the basis on all the sociological stuff that I'm talking about. So unlike Jordan Peterson, I actually think it matters that you believe in God, but I'm not a philosopher of religion, and that's not my specialty. So if you wanted to have a good discussion on that, and he's definitely better than me when it comes to mannerisms, I would encourage you to reach out to Dr. Khalil Andani and see if he would want to mix it up with you. But
I hope, I have spoken with Mufti Abu Layth, and then after that, I actually do take a lot of his understanding on certain bits, because I make sure that I understand if I'm going after a certain claim of Islam. I go after, so rather than me just making a fool of myself and criticizing it, I do understand, I do take his view on that, like on a friendly terms. I met him once, I've spoken to him on the phone for 3 or 4 hours, and I've always enjoyed his company, but it never went that way. And the reason why I wasn't engaging, yes, sure, this is my nature as well, that when someone tries to get into it, then, no matter how calm I try to be, a more competitive side of me is going to come out.
I'm like that too, my friend. I'm like that.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like that. No, but
I don't either. I don't either. And I shouldn't have said that you're a bigot. I do think that those views are bigoted, but I should have differentiated between you and the views. And so for that, I do apologize. I was a little bit heated, and I apologize. You get in the moments, and I apologize for that.
I'm not going to be a dickhead, and I'm going to say, well, it's all your fault, but I know deep down that how hard I tried to keep this civil. I did not engage in Twitter war, even though some of the comments, I was picking up some frustration from your side. And now Khalil Andani also tweeted something, and I said, oh, okay. Like when he said that, okay, well, look how he's going to, along the lines of how Jawad is going to destroy. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine. You get it. I did not engage in that because I wanted to have a conversation with you as I had with Mufti Abu Layth. And I think when now we have each other's WhatsApp, and I think if we do talk about something else, there might be your gloves might be off. Maybe, again, my book is 5 years ago. This was my first attempt at writing a book. I've already told you there's a couple of positions that I've changed. For example, the Sweden rape crisis that I did, it was slightly miscalculated, not by much. The point still remains, but but the actual figure is wrong. I think it's not 80%, it's somewhere along 50% or something. And that's also by guessing, because Sweden did not record the religion of people. It just recorded the nationality of refugees. So people worked it out that, okay, they must be Syrian or Arab refugees or something. Okay. So I know that there's certain things that this is wrong at the top of my head. There was something else, but then I apologize. But then I found out I was actually right originally. So I'm always open to change my mind. But I'm sorry to say,
sorry. I have to run my baby. But I really wanted to thank you. Thank you for this. Do reach out to Khalil Andani if you want. And I just want to do a shout out to Daniel Hakikachu. You've debated Harris. Come debate me now. Thanks so much, Harris, for this. I really have to go. My wife's going to kill me.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care. Yeah.
Bye-bye.